Hi everyone, please subscribe to my channel. Blood Immortal. See playlist for other chapters and novels. Join now our Telegram channel now and enjoy exclusive early access. t.me/blood_immortal_official. I do not translate the novels. Credits goes to original translator and author of the novel. I only make it as an audiobook so it would be easier to just listen while doing other things. Credits goes to the author of the novel. I convert stories to audiobook for mental health, for multitasking purpose, for accessibility and time saving. Listening to audiobook is also beneficial for people who have disability. It improves our listening skills and improve our English comprehension, vocabulary and other things. So, thank you for listening. Thank you and thank you very much for your support. Chapter 1001. Big Brother, we were in the wrong. What pills are these? They smell so good. When Jin Zhenggu held the pills in his hands, he found himself invigorated with just a slight sniff from them. It felt as though he was about to ascend to the heavens. This is a mixed yuan powers pill. In the blink of an eye, it can recover all the powers that you have expended. Lin Fan said. The Luffa munching Chu Zanyu kept the Luffa in his hands and took the pill over to examine it with a surprised expression. This is some good stuff. That's only natural, Lin Fan chuckled out. The two of them had a strength of immemorial ancient state middle level. This was something that was considered to be normal, not extraordinarily strong. However, with that supreme grade immortal weapon, the heaven and earth net of theirs, even true immortal state beings wouldn't be able to win against them. If anyone were to be caught in the net, they wouldn't be able to budge even a single inch. The fact that these two fellas were able to stay alive to this day was all thanks to this heaven and earth net. Little brother, come over here. Chu Zanyu beckoned with his hands. The two men stood some distance away as they huddled their heads together in conversation. It was as though they were discussing something serious as they cast glances over at Lin Fan from time to time. The topic of discussion clearly seemed to be revolving around Lin Fan. This fella is way too understanding. I'm really finding it hard to do anything to him, Chu Zanyu said. Big brother, I think the same way as well. Back in the past, the people that we've netted in were all clamoring and trying to kill us. Therefore, we couldn't have just let them off. But this fella, firstly, he did not scold us. Secondly, he isn't trying to pull anything on us either. I think that he's quite the good person. Jin Zhenggu nodded his head in agreement. Should we let him off? Chu Zanyu asked in an undecided manner. Let him off then, Jin Zhenggu replied. But then again, what if we were to let this fella out and he suddenly strikes out at us? What should we do then? Chu Zanyu suddenly added on worriedly once more. Big brother, that is indeed a troubling thought. ... And just as the both of them were discussing about this matter, changes were happening up in the void. A ball of black smoke covered the entire area. There was black light flashing out within as an extremely potent demonic chi emanated out. The black clouds then took on the shape of a skull. When that toothless dark jaw of the skull opened up, a wild roar boomed out. N-O-V-E in .c ohm. You two darn fellas, I've finally found you guys. The demonic chi was torrential and filled with a deep grudge. A sinister, dark wind coiled over, sending forth an endless amount of fear surging through the hearts of everyone present. When Lin Fan looked at the situation up in the void, he was also curious, wondering who it was that had arrived. Big brother, an enemy has come knocking on our doors. When Jin Zhenggu caught sight of those dark clouds, he exclaimed out. I can see, don't panic now, let us hurry up and prepare for battle. Chu Zanyu yelped out as well before stuffing the Luffa back into his mouth and chomping it down in a single swallow. Who are you? Chu Zanyu's rotund body shook as he looked up into the void and shouted out. HMPH, two little pieces of trashes. Did you guys have a lot of fun that day? After the sinister voice trawled out of the dark clouds, they clouds started converging into a single figure. When the two brothers caught sight of that figure, their faces changed as they gasped out, it's you. That figure bore a frosty expression and had an extremely sharp aura. That cultivation state of his was at true immortal state middle level. Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu were somewhat nervous right now. This fellow was a powerful being from one of the 6 residences, the heavenly demon residence. The both of you little pieces of trashes. How dare you take advantage of the fact that I was heavily injured back then while dueling with someone else to use that treasure and sneak in an attack on me. Because of that, you guys took advantage of me. For that matter, even if I were to slice you guys up into 1,000 pieces, it will not be enough to quench the rage in my heart. Yin Junfeng barked out as his heart was burning with wrath. At the same time, he had remembered that treasure deeply in his heart. That was a net not to be underestimated. To think that it would be able to trap him and even seal the powers within his body. How could he not try and snatch over a treasure as such? Therefore, the moment he was done healing with his injuries, Yin Junfeng had been searching all over the place for these two fellas. Initially, he could not have had found them this easily. But, these two fellas had taken away a treasure from Yin Junfeng, and they would take it out from time to time to check it out. That treasure had Yin Junfeng's aura. The moment they took it out, he would be able to sense it. Big brother, what should we do? That sickly dry face of Jin Zhenggu was anxious as he asked. Steady, we must hold ourselves steady. Chu Zanyu was also worried at this moment. The strength of this fella before them was way more formidable than theirs. Their only source of support was that heaven and earth net. But now that the heaven and earth net had already bound up a single person, if they were to let it loose, the other guy would definitely escape. Big brother, in my opinion, I think we should try to compensate the fella that is being trapped in our net right now and ask him to not FCK us over. Jin Zhenggu said. That makes sense. Little brother, your suggestion is brilliant. The eyes of Chu Zanyu shone brightly. He then hurried before Lin Fan's face. Brother, my apologies. We had netted you wrongly earlier on. Here, let me return you your pills along with some stuff as compensation from both of us. You should hurry up and leave this place. This fella is extremely ferocious. If the fight were to break out later on, it would be absolutely outrageous. Chu Zanyu felt that he was pretty down on his luck right now. To think that they would be pestered by a guy that they had netted down in the past. This was one hell of a shish tty situation. Lin Fan looked at Chu Zanyu before shaking his head and sighing out. He did want to take a look at how these two fared with their strength though. Given the great difference in cultivation state, how were they going to try and tide through this calamity? Don't put it to heart. Lin Fan replied. Seeing both of them, he did not know if they were faking it or they were truly that silly. ... Hey, you over there, fella. Don't get too brazen now. If we can net you once, we can net you twice. Chu Zanyu looked over at Yin Junfeng up in the void and scolded out. Is that so? Show me what you're capable of then. That treasure of yours is something that I'm going to get my hands on for sure. Yin Junfeng was a disciple of the heavenly demon sect, and had a strength that was far from ordinary. Every single move he made brought with it a rumbling momentum. Under a single palm strike, the entire place was coiled around by demonic chi. This demonic chi gathered to form a gigantic demon. Gripping down with both hands, it hammered down. Little brother, let's join our forces. Chu Zanyu shouted out. Yes, big brother, Jin Zhenggu replied. Hegemony ocean wave. At this moment, Lin Fan had finally figured it out. The martial arts mystic skills of these two fellas were something that belonged to the mystic water series of the connate 5 elements. Instantly, a formidable water chi surged out from behind the both of them, which then turned into a torrential wave. The wave split apart as a gigantic water spirit god trod over. The aura that was emanated from this gigantic water spirit god was relentless, each layer higher than the previous, as though this was a series of waves with one taller than the previous one. There was a sharp killing intent contained within it. Little brother, let us use our ultimate move. Chu Zanyu shouted out. As he opened his mouth wide, a jade green boat floated above his head and gave off an aura of the mystic water series. It was the same for Jin Zhenggu at this moment as well. The same jade green boat appeared above his head before they fused together. One was gentle while the other was brash, these two different types of aura from the water series intertwined together. Lin Fan nodded his head. Seemed like this was a martial arts mystic skill that worked with a combination technique. The mystic water series was one that encompassed every single living thing, and yet could destroy every single thing as well. I'll send you flying with a single fist. Chu Zanyu hollered out as his palms turned into fists that rained down on Yin Junfeng. The gigantic water spirit god that was treading over raised his hand as that colossal fist of his shredded the void and slammed ahead. HMPH. Courting death. Yin Junfeng scoffed out coldly. When one was at the true immortal state, what they depended on was their powers. Just that alone could kill these two fellas with pure brute force. Bam! Indeed, just as he had expected, the gigantic water spirit god disintegrated. In the face of absolute power, no mystic skill or anything could make up the difference at all. I'm going to net you. At this moment, the heaven and earth net soared up and emitted an immortal glow before striking out at Yin Junfeng. Do you really think that I'll fall for the same thing after being taken advantage of once before? Yin Junfeng swept his robes as a series of bright light spots burst out. These white spots were like little round balls that exploded out the moment they made contact with the heaven and earth net. Bam! These were the extreme yin god thunder pills that were formulated specially to counter this supreme great immortal weapon. The moment they exploded, the force produced by it halted the heaven and earth net in its tracks immediately. As for the remaining shockwaves, they had even turned into an attack by themselves that rebounded on the bodies of Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu. Big brother, I can't hold out anymore. Jin Zhenggu shouted out. Little brother, hold steady. ... I'm going to extract out even your souls. Yin Junfeng said ominously. Big brother, we were the ones in the wrong. Please talk things out properly. We'll just return you your items. Wouldn't that do? Suddenly, Chu Zanyu yelped out. He was truly fearful right now. He hadn't expected that this heaven and earth net that had brought for them 100% success rate so far would actually fail before this fella. It's too late, Yin Junfeng laughed out coldly. The strength of these two fellas wasn't strong enough. Therefore, they were unable to unleash the true potential of this supreme great immortal weapon. But, if he were the one who had his hands on it, this supreme great immortal weapon would definitely be able to reach even greater heights. Chapter 1002 Level Up. Chapter 1002, Level Up. Totally dead meat. In the face of that boundless might, Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu's faces changed starkly. The strength of this fella had gone far beyond their expectations. Initially, they had thought that the supreme great immortal weapon, the heaven and earth net, would be able to fight against this fella. But, who would have thought that the other party had come prepared? Yin Junfeng struck out with his palm as he sent forth his move, the baleful yin murdering heaven palm that pushed all the way through. This was a martial arts mystic skill that carried with it the demonic chi of the earth abyss in the endless mainland and was formed from its culmination. When it was deployed, there was a sinister power of baleful yin that was sent forth in waves along with it. If there were any beings who were weaker and ended up in contact with this power of baleful yin, they would be turned into ashes immediately. The baleful yin rumbled out as a menacing dragon howled over. This dragon looked exceptionally malevolent, and those jet-black scales it had shone with a cold gleam. Die! Yin Junfeng snorted out coldly as his eyes shone with a violent, berserk look. Little brother, let us meet again in our next lifetime. Chu Zanyu shook that rotund and plump body of his before screaming out. Big brother, we will. Don't worry about that. Jin Zhenggu howled out as well. Lin Fan, who was standing at the sidelines, chuckled out helplessly. Shifting his body nimbly, he disappeared from where he was. By the time he next appeared, he slapped up with his palm, shattering the void and controlling that sinister dragon within it. Bam! Moving his palm, Lin Fan's fingers were just like claws as a berserk amount of power was gathered within, crushing that sinister dragon into dust. Who are you? Yin Junfeng's face froze up as he glared at Lin Fan warily. He then looked at the token at Lin Fan's waist before scoffing out coldly, you are a remnant of the Heaven and Earth sect. Lin Fan looked around at his waist. Oh, so this was the thing that had revealed his identity to the outside world. As a disciple of the Heaven and Earth sect, what are you trying to do? Unless you're thinking about helping these two fellas and waging war with my heavenly demon sect, are you? The voice of Yin Junfeng was grim right now. Now, those words of yours are getting a little cocky now. I'm watching over these two people, and yet you're thinking of killing them. Are you thinking about waging war with my Heaven and Earth sect? Lin Fan's brows furrowed as he reversed the question. You. Yin Junfeng's face was dark. It was as though he had not expected that the other party would actually spout out words as such. Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu, who had already been waiting to receive death, were so emotional at the fact that there was someone who was here to save them that they hugged out at Lin Fan's thighs immediately. Big brother, please save us. Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu bowed down without a single bit of hesitation. This was something that had Lin Fan feeling bemused. Weren't you guys trying to rob me just moments earlier? Lin Fan asked. Big brother, we were in the wrong. As long as you save us, big brother, we will definitely compensate you properly and accordingly. Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu cried out. Lin Fan's lips curled into a grin. The main reason for this was that it had been a long time since Lin Fan had received some experience points right now. As for this Yin Junfeng before him, this was a huge amount of walking experience points here. True immortal state middle level. Even though this wasn't the largest fish out in the sea, this was sufficient for the current Lin Fan. Even though you're a remnant of the Heaven and Earth sect. Single quote ? Single quote. Before Yin Junfeng had even finished with his words, he realized that this guy had already struck out at him. When it's time to fight, you must never ever beep beep. Otherwise, it'll lead to your death. In a flash, Lin Fan appeared right before Yin Junfeng. He hurled out a fist that had a speed so fast that it was enough to have everyone's jaws drop in amazement. Bam! An explosion boomed out. This fist of Lin Fan wasn't one that was so easy to block against. So what if one was at true immortal state middle level? If they were struck by it, it would still be one hell of a wallop for them. The blood-bursting fist of the North Star was brought by Lin Fan to the endless mainland as well. A single fist was enough to have Yin Junfeng's entire face rupture, causing an endless amount of blood to spray out. Damn it, Yin Junfeng was enraged right now. As he slapped his palms together, a red beam of light shone out from within his palms. This blood light was extremely sinister, carrying a torrential demonic chi. Demonic Earth Abyss. Yin Junfeng started separating his palms slowly. When they were separating out, an extremely horrifying abyss formed within his palms as though it was about to descend down upon the world. Damned fella, how dare you challenge my might? I'll have you dead, Yin Junfeng roared out in rage. The laws of true immortals surged out from within his body. When a powerful being reached the true immortal state, they would be able to sense the heaven and earth and utilize the might of the heaven and earth itself to suppress their enemies. Therefore, within the endless mainland, unless it was some exceptional prodigy or had some treasures, there was practically no chance for anyone of immemorial ancient state to want to defeat someone of true immortal state. The difficulty of that was extremely high, similar to one wanting to ascend into the highest heavens. Let us net. At this moment, Lin Fan had already made his preparations when all of a sudden, a gigantic net appeared around Yin Junfeng out of nowhere. Yin Junfeng's face changed immediately. He wanted to defend against this, but he was a step too late. Thud, he was netted right in the middle, without any chance of fighting back at all. Within the net, Yin Junfeng found all of his powers being sealed up. In fact, he did not have any bit of strength remaining to even continue floating up in the void. Big brother, we've caught him. Jin Zhenggu was tugging furiously as he exerted strength into both arms to drag the net and his captive over. Little brother, you're so incredible. Chu Zanyu yelled out excitedly. Lin Fan was slightly speechless right now. He did not even have a chance to show off. What a tragedy. Let me go, you bunch of dogs *ts. As long as your father doesn't die, I'll make sure to turn you guys into nothing but ashes and bones. Yin Junfeng was yelling out. His face was so grim that it was extremely horrifying to look at. Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu were evidently rattled by that threat. Big brother, come over here for a moment. Jin Zhenggu beckoned out towards Chu Zanyu as the both of them huddled their heads deep in conversation once more. What should we do with this fella? If we let him off, he will definitely come and kill us in the future. Jin Zhenggu asked worriedly. Little brother, do you have any more brilliant suggestions? This fella is indeed a problem. Chu Zanyu did not know what to do right now either. Big brother, should we just kill him? Or, how about let's rear him up so that he can't escape for his entire life? Jin Zhenggu suggested. The moment Chu Zanyu heard those words, he shook his head. We can't kill him. This guy seems to be a disciple of the heavenly demon sect. If we were to kill him, it's going to be one hell of a tragedy for us. Should we just keep him locked up in the net for all eternity, so that he can't get out for his entire life? Jin Zhenggu asked. The moment Chu Zanyu heard this, he nodded his head. Little brother. You are really quick-witted. That is such an amazing plan. Alright, let's do that then. Arg. How dare you try to kill me? Bam! Just as Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu were done discussing, a tragic wail rang out. They looked over to see Lin Fan stamping down on Yin Junfeng with his feet before channeling his powers to rumble out, crushing him to death in the blink of an eye. When Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu caught sight of that, they were completely dumbfounded. You've killed him. The both of them raised their heads and looked over at Lin Fan blankly. N-O-V-E-N.C-O-M. Lin Fan revealed a wide beam. Ding! Congratulations on killing true immortal state middle level being Yin Junfeng. Ding! Experience points plus 70 million. Ding! Cultivation state leveled up. Cultivation state. True immortal state. All of a sudden, after the notifications from the system came to an end, there was a sudden change within Lin Fan's body. The powers within his body were rumbling out like a gushing river that could not stay restrained. Boom! Within Lin Fan's inner world, a door appeared all of a sudden. This door seemed as though it was a door to the heaven and earth. Under the ramming of his torrential power, the door was slammed open directly. If anyone else were to know about this, they would definitely be shocked with a look of absolute horror. What kind of a bloody joke was this? Opening the heaven and earth door with such ease as though a window was being opened. How horrifying was this? Above Lin Fan's head, the powers gushed up through the heaven and earth as the law of the true immortals wrapped around his entire body. Lin Fan's law of true immortals was extremely thick compared to anyone else's. This was a law that was even thicker than most other true immortal state beings, evidence of just how deep his foundations and resources were. Chapter 1003 Snuffed with a Snap. Chapter 1003 Snuffed with a Snap. Big brother, the aura of this fella is so strong. Is he breaking through right now? Jin Zhenggu could feel the pressure that was coming forth from the heaven and earth that seemed to be akin to a crushing mountain. Because of that, he was completely flabbergasted. No, he is not breaking through. He has just broken through. Chu Zanyu gasped out in astonishment. How could his law of the true immortals be this thick? This is way thicker than any other true immortal state powerful beings that we've ever met with before. Jin Zhenggu could not believe everything right now. Even though they were adventurers, they had captured quite a number of true immortal state powerful beings using that heaven and earth net of theirs. However, this was the first time he was coming across a law of the true immortals that was this thick. This is the Tao of the true immortals. Lin Fan could feel his body undergoing some changes. Ever since he had entered the true immortal state, his body's aura possessed a change that flipped the entire world around him. If he were to meet with Elder Huo once more, he would be able to take him down with merely a single move for sure. That just served to show how strong and horrifying the extent of Lin Fan's powers were right now. Or perhaps, horror was truly the only word suitable to describe something as such. For anyone else, after they entered the true immortal state, not only would they have to raise their personal powers, they would have to work hard at comprehending the law of the true immortals. But for Lin Fan, none of that was required. The only thing he needed were experience points. As long as he had experience points, everything would fall into completion. The storage ring of Yin Junfeng was still left behind. However, after opening it, the only thing that awaited was disappointment. There was practically nothing good inside there, just some ordinary pills. In fact, there wasn't even any of those explosive God Thunder pills left. This was one hell of a poor bloke. At this moment, Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu exchanged glances, and then came beside Lin Fan. Thinking of the aura that was emanated by this fella right before them earlier on, they could still feel their hearts tightening up. Strong. This was simply way too strong. It was at least 10 times stronger than Yin Junfeng. At this moment, both of them felt that even if they were in possession of the heaven and earth net, they still weren't a match for this person before them. Big bro. The both of them yelled out with vigor. They were all prepared to hug Lin Fan's thighs right now. After roaming out in the world for so long, it wasn't that they hadn't thought of looking for someone's thighs to hug and have some backing for themselves. But, when they had joined a sect in the past, they realized that everyone in the sect was just coveting their treasure. It was only that the sect was a small sect thankfully, and none of them knew that it was a supreme-grade immortal weapon. Otherwise, the two of them wouldn't have been able to stay alive till now. Thus, both of them decided to sneak out and escape from the sect. You guys wish to follow me? Lin Fan peered over at the both of them while asking. Yes. Without thinking twice, both of them nodded their heads simultaneously. All right, follow me then. Lin Fan did not have to hesitate at all. Even though the strength of these two fellas wasn't anything spectacular, that treasure of theirs was pretty decent. Perhaps, they might be able to bring forth an extraordinary outcome to the table because of that. Big bro, my name is Chu Zanyu. This is my little brother, Jin Zhenggu. Chu Zanyu spoke up. The moment Lin Fan heard those names, he thought of how slightly overbearing they were. He then reported his own name as well. Lin Fan. A few days later, November LBJNN. These two brothers were considered to have been acknowledged by Lin Fan. But at the same time, he had confirmed that their intellect wasn't too high. If not for the fact that they had the heaven and earth net, given their intellect, it would be damn hard for both of them to continue living in this world. Save me, save me. At this moment, a voice traveled over. Lin Fan's heart tightened. They were traveling through the void right now. Even if someone were screaming out at the top of their lungs down on the ground, the voice shouldn't be transmitted over to the void. Big bro, there seems to be a chick that's calling for help down below. Chu Zanyu pointed down below saying. That chick looks to be extremely beautiful, big bro. Jin Zhenggu said. Lin Fan felt his brain whirling as he replied, you guys go and check it out. But, tell her that there's only the two of you. Within this desolate wilderness where there was nothing behind or up ahead, how could there be a chick calling for help out of nowhere? Understood. Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu nodded their heads. Without any hesitation, they landed down onto the ground below. At this moment, a woman draped in green clothing was standing on top of a boulder. She looked weak, with a deep wound on her ankle. When she caught sight of people heading over, she let out an excited expression. Please help me. When Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu heard this voice, they felt their hearts skip a beat. As though they were mesmerized, they rushed up ahead. Lady, what's wrong with you? Chu Zanyu asked. My leg is injured, the woman replied delicately before revealing a frightened look on her face. Let me take a look. Chu Zanyu lowered his head and checked out the wound on the woman's ankle. The woman took a look at Jin Zhenggu, who was standing at the side. As though she was about to faint at any moment, she let off a pitiable look and called over to him, won't you come and help me up? Even though Jin Zhenggu was this old already, he was still a virgin. How could he possibly withstand the seduction of such a pretty chick? Instantly, that little scrawny body of his rushed forth as he stood at the side shyly, allowing the woman to rest her arm on his shoulders. It hurts. The woman moaned out. Lady, this leg of yours isn't injured too badly. I've got some pills over here. You should recover after consuming them. Chu Zanyu raised his head saying. But when he raised his head, he realized that the pupils of that chick had suddenly turned pink in color. And within those pink eyes of hers was a bewitching feeling emitting forth intensely. Big brother, are you going to doze off here? When Jin Zhenggu looked at that giddy-looking Chu Zanyu, he exclaimed out. At this moment, the woman chuckled out coldly. The nails of those fingers of hers that were grabbing onto Jin Zhenggu's shoulders turned extremely long and thin, with a mysterious aura being emanated out of them. It was as though she had refined her fingernails like treasures as they turned sharper than anything else while letting off a bone-chilling aura. But, just as the woman was about to strike out, she froze up all of a sudden. She had realized that there was a figure standing behind her. The aura that was given off by that figure caused her blood to freeze up. Don't pretend now. Also, don't move at all. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself turning into nothing but ashes in the next second. Lin Fan spoke up softly. It was clear now, this woman was here to scam and kill others. With that pretty face of hers, those who had some lust in their hearts might truly not be able to defend against her. Chu Zanyu, who was mesmerized by her just now, broke out of his stupor all of a sudden as he yelped out, Big bro. There's something wrong with her. And just at this moment, the woman's body jerked swiftly. She wanted to escape from this place. She had not expected to meet with a wall here. I told you not to move. Did you not understand what I said? Lin Fan snorted out coldly. Extending out his 5 fingers, he grabbed the woman in his hands as that boundless powers of his rumbled out furiously. It was as though if the chick dared to move even the slightest bit, she would definitely find herself dead in the next moment. You can't kill me. I am the holy lady of the Fey sect. If you kill me, you will be hunted down by the entire Fey sect. The Fey woman who was behind held in Lin Fan's hands started threatening him. HMPH. Speak, what are you doing here? Lin Fan asked. I'm not doing anything. The Fey woman's eyes shone with concealment. Lin Fan had not expected that this Fey woman would still try to cover up the truth even in this state. He could not help but increase his grip strength. It was as though the other party could be crushed into dust at any moment right now. Loosen up, I'll speak. The Fey woman could feel an extremely strong killing intent. If she were to continue hiding the truth, this fella might truly just kill her right now. Forget it, there's no need for that. Lin Fan answered coldly. From his hands, the power of purification surged out and wrapped the entire Fey woman within it. Damn it, what is that mystic skill? How dare you try to purify me? No. When the Fey woman felt that power of purification, she started struggling out furiously. But, a mere immemorial ancient state being, and she thought that she could fight against the purification. That was just a dream. It didn't take long before the expression on the face of the Fey woman took a change. It was as though she was already converted under Lin Fan. Speak, what are you doing here? Lin Fan asked out once more. I'm here to collect essence blood for the Sir Demon Lord to aid him in recovering his powers. Sir Demon Lord was being hunted down by others, and has sustained grave injuries. Therefore, he's hiding here to recuperate his wounds right now. At this moment, the Fey woman told everything she knew as it was. When Lin Fan heard this, his heart leapt with joy. Bloody hell, it was yet another fella who was left alone. And by the sounds of it, his injuries must definitely be pretty severe. If he were to find that guy and snuff him out just like that, it would be hard for his experience points to not skyrocket because of that. Where is the Demon Lord? Lin Fan asked. He is hiding out 100,000 feet deep beneath the ground in the abyssal voids down below. After being purified by Lin Fan, there was nothing the Fey woman wouldn't say as she spouted out every single thing she knew. Snap, Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu were both stunned. To think that their big bro would snuff out such a pretty chick just like that. That was such a waste. Chapter 1004 Prepare to Die, Demon Lord. Chapter 1004, Prepare to Die, Demon Lord. When that pretty chick was snuffed out, both the brothers were extremely heartbroken. That was such an eye-catching chick. And just like that, she was gone. Chu Zanyu spoke to Lin Fan with a consulting tone, "Big bro, could we try to cherish these beautiful souls more in the future?" That's right, that's right. That chick was so cute. Jin Zhenggu's head was like a rattle drum right now, bobbing up and down in nods. Gosh, you guys really want to stay by the side of a woman until it really brings you your death, Anyways, cut the crap now. Later on, I'm going to go down underground. You guys just stay by the side and bide your time. If there's a chance, strike out immediately. Right now, Lin Fan was feeling really emotional. There was an injured demon lord down below. Just that title alone had him feeling that this was definitely going to be outrageous and incredible. Don't worry, big bro. We're well trained in this trade. The both of them nodded their heads immediately. They were going to get to work later on soon. The mere thought of it had them feeling a little nervous. They did not know what sort of a background this demon lord had. Was he going to be really ugly or fearsome or something? However, with Big Bro around, they did not feel any fear at all towards that. Although, an underground deep abyssal void hundreds of thousands of feet below. The thought of that was pretty scary. Indeed, only a gigantic baddie would hide down in such a deep underground abyssal void for no reason. Lin Fan had long mastered the connate 5 elements. In fact, his mastery of them was practically perfected. Under the reverberations of his powers, the resolute ground was just like the surface of water as circles after circles of ripples floated out. Time to go. Immediately, Lin Fan brought the two of them and tunneled beneath the ground. Before they had even touched Lin Fan, the surrounding rocks started softening up like mush. What is this mystic skill? To think that it would be this strong. Chu Zanyu exclaimed out in astonishment. His face was then filled with glee. Wait. If we could learn a mystic skill as such, we wouldn't have to fear being hunted down by others in the future. This is not a mystic skill. These are the connate 5 elements. If you want to tunnel under the ground, you need to first be able to find the connate element of earth. Lin Fan chuckled out. It was fairly easy to find the connate element of earth back in the ancient saint world. Ah, that's so difficult, Chu Zanyu exclaimed out in surprise. In the endless mainland, the connate 5 elements could be considered to be utmost treasures. Back when Lin Fan found out about this sect from the sect's introductory guide, he was equally surprised about it. After all, the connate 5 elements wasn't something that was that difficult to seek out in the ancient saint world and the Xuanwang world. And yet, it was so difficult to obtain in the endless mainland. The main reason for this was that there were many powerful beings here who would make use of the connate 5 elements to craft their weapons. As such, that resulted in a scarcity of the available connate 5 elements. If one wanted to learn a set of martial arts mystic skills that involved the connate 5 elements, the price that they had to pay for it was pretty high. And just at this moment, Lin Fan discovered that the rocks around him were starting to become more solid, and the amount of powers he was expending was getting more than ever. If this were any ordinary immemorial ancient state powerful being, this might result in a choking of their powers, causing them to be stuck underground here. And even if it were a true immortal state lower level being, they would have to put in quite a bit of effort. All of a sudden, everything beneath Lin Fan's feet disappeared as though he was standing in the void. We're here, let us be careful, Lin Fan warned. Don't worry, big bro. We will definitely follow tightly behind you, big bro. Chu Zanyu said. To think that there would be such a huge empty space deep underground. If I were not witnessing this for my very eyes, I would have found it hard to believe. Jin Zhenggu exclaimed out. The space that was here was so vast that he could not even make out the ends with just his sight. There were a series of black mist shrouding around like coiling dragons. The entire atmosphere of the place was grim and dark, somewhat frightening. Lin Fan brought the two of them and landed down. Eventually, his feet made contact with the ground. Earth within earth, it was pretty amazing that there could exist two separate layers of earth in this place. As for this space here, it should most likely have been created by men. After all, the surroundings bore traces of it being man-made. This is an extremely frightening and ghastly place. If not for the fact that we're here with Big Bro, there's no other way we would possibly come here by ourselves. Chu Zanyu patted his chest while gasping out. With Big Bro around, what do we have to be afraid of? Don't you agree, big bro? Jin Zhenggu sniggered out. He was pretty interested in stuff like adventures. And now that they had a huge backing with them, that was something that filled their hearts with a full sense of security. A long time later, there are no living creatures anywhere in this entire place. If I were the only one here, I would have been scared out of my wits. Chu Zanyu said. Don't speak now. Lin Fan's brows furrowed as he indicated for them to be silent. The two of them shut up immediately and checked out their surroundings warily before whispering out softly, Big bro, what's wrong? There's some activity up ahead. Let us sneak over there slowly and check if that's the place where the Demon Lord is recuperating. If it is, we must definitely not alarm the other party. Before Lin Fan could make out what exactly was up with this Demon Lord, he would definitely not be overly careless. Otherwise, who knew what might end up happening? If the strength of that Demon Lord was truly extremely strong, he would be able to take them down even with his remaining strength. And if that were the case, the only way out would be to make a run for it. At this moment, there was a barely discernible ball of red light up ahead. At the same time, there was a torrential demonic chi around it. This demonic chi was far from ordinary. Compared to Yin Junfeng, it was practically the difference between an adult and a child. Between the two of them, there couldn't even be a comparison to be made. Stealthily, this three-man party of Lin Fan was extremely dodgy. They were practically the epitome of dodginess itself. Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu had realized that their big bro was not as tyrannical as he was earlier on either. Seemed like he was equally sneaky towards the unknown. The both of them had trodden across the endless mainland, and it could be said that they would bow down as long as it meant that it could save their little lives. And, this demeanor of their big bro right now had them feeling like they had just found a kindred spirit. Since their big bro was acting so cowardly right now, they would do the same as well. Quietly, along the entire way here, they did not make even a single peep of sound, just searching around sneakily. Eventually, they hid behind a boulder. Big bro, there seems to be someone within that red light there. Chu Zanyu remarked. That's not a red light. That looks more like blood mist. Jin Zhenggu continued. I can see that. Don't beep beep anymore, Lin Fan said. In the void up ahead was a beam of red light that descended down from the sky, and another one that burst up from the ground of this deep abyss. At the intersection of the two beams of red light was a man dressed in black robes, seated in between as though he was dead. One after another, broken laws of the true immortals wrapped around the black robes worn by that man. At the same time, the blood mist rumbled out endlessly before disappearing into the world just like stardust. Undoubtedly, that blood mist must have been made up of essence blood. For this much essence blood to accumulate, how many people must have been killed? However, the thing that bothered Lin Fan the most was checking out what the cultivation state of that demon lord was. But when Lin Fan looked over properly, his entire face froze up. Mystic immortal. As though he had just seen something wrong, Lin Fan intentionally took another closer and serious look. Indeed, it was still truly a mystic immortal. Tell me, what's the cultivation state that's above true immortal state? Lin Fan asked. Big bro, isn't that the mystic immortal state? Jin Zhenggu replied puzzledly. Big bro, you're the remnant of a sect. How can you not know of the cultivation states out there? Well, let me ask you guys a hypothetical question. Assuming that a gravely injured mystic immortal were to appear before us, what do you think we should do about that? Lin Fan asked again. The moment Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu heard the question, they replied without the slightest bit of hesitation, FCK him up of course. A mystic immortal who is gravely injured. The strength that he could exert out in that state would just be of true immortal at best. Furthermore, you are someone whose strength is that of a true immortal, big bro. But wait, that's not right. Is there even an injured mystic immortal around anywhere? Big bro. You can't be talking about that demon lord, right? Lin Fan nodded his head. He then chuckled out coldly, come on. Let us walk out there with pride and honor. Alrighty then. Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu broke out in a chuckle as well, filled with peak confidence right now. No-vel-b in .c ohm. Demon Lord, you can bloody stay there and wait for your death to come. Lin Fan yelled out loudly straight away. Chapter 1005 Defeated. Truly defeated. Chapter 1005, Defeated. Truly defeated. Demon Lord, did you hear the words of our big bro? Our big bro is here to collect your life. Chu Zanyu hollered out. Lin Fan's brows furrowed. This demon lord was a little overbearing now, wasn't he? To think that he wouldn't budge even a single inch. Was he looking down on him, Lin Fan? Then that would be bloody awkward. Big bro, that fella seems to be belittling us. Jin Zhenggu said in a small huff. They had not thought that they would one day be this domineering. Following along with their big bro, they could shout out and go against a mystic immortal. This situation was simply way too domineering. Courting death, Lin Fan's brows furrowed as he burst forth with the sword wills that he had cultivated out recently. A penetrating sword will sliced through the world and instantly bolted out towards the demon lord who was sitting there in the void. The sharp sword will was unyielding, causing the void in the entire underground abyss to vibrate. Big bro, you're so strong. Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu exclaimed out in shock. Wherever the sword will passed by, nothing could stand in its way as it slew the demon lord instantly. The corpse even ruptured out violently, turning into a splash of blood that sprayed out in the entire world. Bravo, big bro, the both of them cheered. Lin Fan was slightly taken aback right now. Bloody hell, this was just like bumping into a ghost. Was this the legendary demon lord or something? But, wasn't that just way too bloody weak? To be sliced to death through a single sword of his. Easy. This was way too easy. It was easy to the point of even being somewhat unbelievable. However, there was something odd. Since he had killed the demon lord, why was there no notification that came from the system? At this moment, Lin Fan's mind opened up. Could it be that the demon lord had already succumbed to death from his grave injuries earlier on? Perhaps that Fey woman up above did not know about it and was still blindly seducing people, thinking that the demon lord was not dead. Holy FCK, then this would be a huge loss. To think that he would have gotten nothing out of this. Bloody dog sh*t. Who's there? And just at this moment, an earth-shaking bellow boomed out furiously from the confines of the void around them. Even though it was just a mere voice, the entire void was quaking intensely under its might. A torrential demonic chi burst forth from deep underground. Slowly, the demonic chi materialized and eventually formed a pair of eyes of a demon. This pair of demonic eyes looked down on the entire world in disdain before sweeping over to where Lin Fan and the others were. To think that there would be people who would choose to come in and send themselves to death. Initially, Lin Fan was still somewhat bewildered. But, when he caught sight of the pair of demonic eyes, he was just completely stunned. As for the two brothers, Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu, who were still feeling domineering early on, their legs were already wobbling after they heard the voice. Big bro, this, what is this? Chu Zanyu stuttered out. Lin Fan gulped down and even had thoughts of suiciding right now. It was only now that Lin Fan understood the fact that the thingy earlier on wasn't the demon lord at all. It was just a tribute that was used to help the demon lord recuperate from his wounds. Holy FCK, his FC King Father. Lin Fan cussed out in his heart. He then picked up the both of them and shouted, "Run!" Even though he had yet to witness the true body of the demon lord, just that pair of demonic eyes and the demonic chi that was emitted earlier on was enough for him to be convinced. This was definitely not something that he could deal with at all. This was a bloody huge said Batty. Since you're already here, enter then. Seems like you guys have already seen through the ruse that your lord here had set up earlier on. Why now, did you guys think that a few mere ants such as yourselves could actually take me down even if your lord was injured? Boom, the ground caved in as a series of gigantic black pillars bolted up from beneath and sealed up the place from all directions. Let us fly. Without thinking twice, Lin Fan rose up into the void immediately. November LBJNN. But, just as he raised his head and was prepared to head up into the void, he realized that there were a series of red banners streaming around in the void. Just like pythons, those red banners swam everywhere, thick and clustered, they intertwined with one another. It was as though if anything dared to make contact with them, the only path awaiting them would be death. At this moment, Lin Fan swallowed his saliva and felt his nuts hurting. This mother CKER just wanted to play him out and have him die here, didn't he? It's a misunderstanding, Demon Lord. We're here to bring medicine for you. At this moment, Lin Fan, who had remained relatively silent the entire time, screamed out at the top of his lungs. Hue, do you take your lord for a fool? The voice boomed out from beneath the ground once more. There was a hint of contempt in that tone of his. It's really a misunderstanding, Demon Lord. The three of us are true and faithful to you, Demon Lord. We're truly here to bring medicine for you. Here is a heaven and earth invincible healing saint pill that can help you to heal up your wounds, Demon Lord. If you do not believe me, you can try it for yourself, Demon Lord. Lin Fan did not hesitate as he tossed the damage-leaving pill over. The pill vanished within the void as though it was being grabbed over by an invisible hand. Thereafter, the void went silent once more. The silence ensued for a long time. Big bro, what should we do? Chu Zanyu whispered and asked somewhat timidly. Jin Zhenggu nodded his head repeatedly as well. This was so damned bloody scary. Don't fret. Lin Fan held his breath and wiped the beads of sweat off his forehead right now. Just this aura alone was enough for him to know that the Demon Lord wasn't someone he could fight with. This aura definitely surpassed that of a mystic immortal. As for how strong it truly was, Lin Fan truly had no idea. If he couldn't get a sight of this guy for himself personally, he might never be able to find out. Indeed, it didn't take long before a voice that was filled with glee and authority boomed out from the void. Are there any more of those pills? The Demon Lord roared out as though he had just discovered the wondrous effects of the pill. Yes, yes, the reason why we're here this time around is to help you heal up your wounds, Demon Lord. Lin Fan yelled out loudly. Good, very good indeed. As long as you provide enough pills for your lord can take you guys under my wings and have you guys become a strong demon within this world. The Demon Lord spoke up. Many thanks, Demon Lord. We're so touched we're basically crying out right now. Lin Fan wiped the side of his eyes before taking out a bunch of pills. This are the last of the bunch now, Demon Lord. I hope that they will be useful to you, Demon Lord. As he tossed that bunch of pills over, they disappeared from the face of the world. Lin Fan lowered his head at this moment as his head whirled with thoughts. What should I do? Just what should I do? If this were to Mother Sea King not work, we would really be in for deep sh*t now. Lin Fan thought in his mind. This was just one hell of an unfortunate encounter for their roaming exploration. Initially, he had killed a true immortal state middle-level being to become a true immortal himself. But, who would have thought that after entering this underground abyss to obtain some cheap, quick gains, he would have met with this sicko of a Demon Lord. This was way too unexpected. Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu were stumped right now as well. The situation had changed against them way too quickly, hadn't it? To think that right after they acknowledged someone as their big bro, they were going to die along with their big bro right now. Boom. Indeed, it wasn't long before an overbearing aura burst forth. Good. To think that these pills would be able to help your lord recover by a good 20%. Very good. The voice of the Demon Lord traveled over. This was a voice filled with ecstasy. Initially, the wounds of the Demon Lord were extremely grim. Without these pills, he would require at least 100 years before he could recover from them. But right now, he had already healed up by a good 20%. What is your name? At this moment, a figure appeared on the face of the world. When Lin Fan caught sight of that figure that had appeared, he was stunned. What a devilish-looking man. If this man were put onto Earth, he would definitely be an existence who would make every single teenage girls and old auntie to crawl over and lick him all over with their tongues. But right now, this was the endless mainland. And not only that, it was evident that this Demon Lord was an extremely vicious being. Replying to the Demon Lord, this little one here is called Lin Fan. Lin Fan shouted out before taking a stealthy peek at him. Holy FCK, Golden Immortal Full Cultivation State. This was an existence that was even more outrageous than Mystic Immortals. Mother *CKER. A powerful being of Golden Immortal Full Cultivation State. This guy could kill them with ease even with his injuries. Chapter 1006 Choke You to Death, ********. Chapter 1006. Choke You to Death, *******. I'm called Chu Zanyu. I'm called Jin Zhenggu. The Demon Lord nodded his head in satisfaction. Even though there was a strong surge of killing intent that had risen within his heart, he kept it hidden completely. For the Demon Lord, this fella's pills were a great help. If it were possible, it might not even take that long before his injuries were recovered completely. By then, all of those darned old fools would surely get it, as he would definitely have all of them killed. He had roamed around the endless mainland while concealing his identity for dozens of thousands of years now. What sort of pills had he not come across? And yet, the pill produced by this ant was something that had him completely taken aback. Without any trace of the law of the immortal Tao, the pills were still superior even when compared to immortal pills. However, because the strength of the Demon Lord was way too formidable and his injuries were way too severe, even an elixir as such which could heal up all his wounds in the blink of an eye could not produce the same impact. But, the fact that he was able to recover by 20% just by swallowing a few hundred of those pills was something that was extremely horrifying for the Demon Lord. He had remained hidden in this underground abyss and had his servant lure in powerful beings before sucking their essence blood dry to heal up his own injuries. But, the speed of doing so was way too slow. He could not afford to wait for such a long time. This heaven and earth invincible healing saint pill or whatnot was something that he had inspected personally, there were no issues with it. At the same time, given his current cultivation state, he wasn't afraid of any tricks that these ants could come up with either. Give your lord more pills like those. the demon lord said as his eyes shone with a cold glint. It was as though he was going to kill the other party if he did not produce these pills. For Lin Fan, who had hit a snag right now, he was truly convinced over the strength of this demon lord. Even though the latter was injured, he was still ever so darned powerful. If he were to truly break out into a huge fight with the demon lord because of him brashly entering this underground abyss, the consciousness of a golden immortal state powerful being alone would be able to crush them into ashes. Demon lord, I really don't have any more of those pills. If you want more of them, I need spirit herbs. Lin Fan put on a face of extreme fear. This was the perfect demonstration of how someone who was totally helpless upon meeting a powerful being should look. Anything else aside, this acting of Lin Fan was definitely top-notch. He could truly be considered as an Oscar-level actor. At the same time, Lin Fan made sure to reveal his cultivation state entirely. When the demon lord caught sight of everything clearly, he let go his guard and caution. In the face of a golden immortal state being, a true immortal state being was nothing but an ant. The face of the demon lord changed, evidently slightly pissed. It was as though he was angered over the fact that Lin Fan did not have any pills. Demon lord, even if you kill me, it's useless. All of the spirit herbs that I had with me were all cultivated into pills. Lin Fan added on. The demon lord entered a state of silence. It was evident that he was pondering over this issue. But, it didn't take long before the demon lord spoke up. What spirit herbs do you require? Any random spirit herbs will do. However, they must have a life to them. If there are any immortal herbs, that would be even better. I'll definitely be able to cultivate out a Xuanwang ultimate big pill. Just one of that and I'm sure you can recover from your wounds entirely, demon lord. Lin Fan replied. What, you can even cultivate out pills of that level? The moment the demon lord heard those words, he was momentarily stunned. Even though he was a golden immortal state being and could cultivate some pills of his own as well, because he wasn't a pill cultivation master, there were many pills with mystifying effects that he could not produce. But now that he had heard Lin Fan's words, how could he not be rattled? From the start, the demon lord had been considering to kill Lin Fan off after he had recovered. But right now, he was having other intentions. If he could take in this fella as his underling, he might be able to have pills cultivated for him exclusively in the future. However, the demon lord would definitely not trust Lin Fan. As long as he could heal up his powers completely, he would then deploy his unparalleled great mystic skills and smite Lin Fan into a walking corpse. Or perhaps, he would rip everything out of Lin Fan entirely, including his gifts in cultivating pills. However, given the state of his current grave injuries, he couldn't deploy mystic skills of that level. Alright, but, if you dare to try anything funny, you will definitely suffer an absolutely horrendous outcome. The demon lord pointed out with his finger as countless spirit herbs swiveled out. No, how would I dare to? I've pledged my allegiance entirely to you, demon lord. How could I possibly deceive you? Lin Fan took the spirit herbs over in his hands and started acting out like he was cultivating the pills. However, he had long been thinking of ideas of how to have this demon lord killed. Within his palms, the power of Bigra was slowly being infused into the pills. All of those pills that he had fed the demon lord earlier on had already been infused with the power of Bigra as well. Even though the demon lord had consumed a couple hundreds of pills, Lin Fan was still afraid that the power of Bigra might still not be enough. Hence, he cultivated out some more pills to let the demon lord consume them. Go on and eat more, dog's tea. You'll definitely go into a fit later on. When the demon lord caught sight of everything before him, he nodded his head in approval. He lifted his finger. This is a strand of immortal herb here. Cultivate it into a pill for your lord. At this moment, an immortal herb floated out in the void. There were only 3 leaves on this strand of herb. But, those 3 leaves were sparkling and glistening with a color just like snow petals that gave off an extremely chilling aura. This is the extreme frost triple yin grass. Lin Fan's face let out a startled expression. HMPH. Seems like you've got some knowledge at least. The demon lord snorted out coldly. The reason why he was injured was all because of this extreme frost triple yin grass. This was an extremely rare immortal herb that would only form after 10,000 years. With it, one could create a 9 turns god fortune pill that could forcefully increase one's cultivation state by 1 level. And, it was precisely because of this that he was surrounded and attacked by those old fools before being defeated eventually. However, he had still managed to get his hands on this strand of immortal herb. Lin Fan's heart skipped with joy. To think that his luck would be this good. He then held the strand of immortal herb in his palms. The moment it made contact, there was a layer of snow-white frost that covered the surface of his palms. This was the power of an immortal herb. If it were any ordinary person, a single touch could have them frozen into a snowman. This could be considered as the epitome of tyranny. Holding this strand of immortal herb in his hands, Lin Fan's heart was filled with elation. To think that this demon lord would be in possession of a strand of immortal herb. Lin Fan wondered if there would be any more to it. Cultivate the immortal herb, the demon lord barked out. Cultivate your FC King Mother. Yours truly is depending on this herb to soar into the skies. Demon lord, I will require some time for this immortal herb. These pills here will be done soon, so you can consume all of these here first. Lin Fan revealed such an aggrieved face that the demon lord could not find anything to refute him with. That disgustingly handsome face of the demon lord let out a grim look. Such a temperamental person, this was just a nutcase. That was the conclusion that Lin Fan derived from this man. Pills completed, Lin Fan called out softly as he flipped his palms over. A series of pills that gave off a fragrant aroma floated out gently within the void. Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu were both completely stumped right now. Big Bro was just bowing down in defeat. To think that he was cultivating pills for the demon lord baddie instead of trying to escape. If that demon lord baddie were to recover, wouldn't they all be dead meat? This was such a simple logic. How come Big Bro just wasn't getting it at all? At this moment, both of them huddled together in a ball. They didn't even have the heart to want to fight back. As for that heaven and earth net, sigh, they might as well forget it then. This guy before them was way too formidable. They had better not get too brazen now. When he caught sight of the pills before him, the demon lord's heart leapt with joy. He then opened up his mouth widely and sucked all of the pills into his belly. The concentrated medicinal properties of the pills melted straight away as they entered the body of the demon lord. Looking at the actions of the demon lord, Lin Fan scoffed out in his heart. I'll choke you to death, ****. Later on, you'll know what it's like to cry. Chapter 1007 Truly just this one last time. Chapter 1007, Truly just this one last time. The pills this time around were close to a full 1,000. After the demon lord sucked all of those pills into his stomach, his tummy was bloated up for a moment. This was because he could not digest them immediately for a moment or so due to all the medicinal properties that were being mixed in his stomach right now. At this moment, the severely injured demon lord's face changed a little. He could already feel all the medicinal effects that were taking place and healing his wounds from within his stomach. 20%, 25%, ... Slowly, the mysterious medicinal effects cruised through his entire body. This was something that had him pretty elated. He had not thought that he would be sent such a lad during this extremely difficult time of his. This was an ant-like existence. Yet, the pills that he was cultivating out were far superior compared to any of those he had seen from any other pill cultivation master in his life. If he could obtain this lad's pill cultivation skills, who else would be a match for him in the endless mainland from now on? When Lin Fan took a look at the situation of the demon lord right now, his face tensed up slightly. How was he supposed to FCK this guy over later on? This demon lord had already swallowed all those pills into his tummy. As for the power of Bigra, it was senseless and odorless. Unless Lin Fan were to directly strike out with it, even the demon lord would not be able to detect everything that was contained within those pills. Right now, Lin Fan could only hope that the power of Bigra would be effective. Otherwise, everything he had done thus far would have been for naught. And at that time, his outcome would truly be extremely horrible. If he did not wish to die, his only option at that time would be to hide within the heaven and earth smelt. But, that was as good as the end of his lifetime as well. Good, good indeed. The demon lord, who had digested all the medicinal effects of the pills, broke out into laughter. That devilishly handsome face of his let out a crazed smile. The issue revolving around his wounds healing up was something that had gone beyond his expectations. If things were to carry on this way, he would definitely be able to heal up his injuries extremely soon. And by then, it would be time for a bloodbath. Sir Demon Lord, how are you feeling right now? Lin Fan asked with a smile on his face. HMPH, pretty decent. To think that an ant such as yourself would possess such capabilities. That is something that has your lord pretty astounded. However, your main mission right now is to have that immortal herb of your lord cultivated into a pill. Otherwise, your lord is going to have you killed with a single palm strike. The demon lord replied harshly. Sure, no problem. As long as you're pleased, your underling here is willing to do anything for you, demon lord. Lin Fan licked his lips and chuckled out. However, inside his heart, he was just cursing out at the demon lord's mother right now. Willing to FCK her that is. Momentarily, Lin Fan felt his mental state trigger as Bigra was slowly starting to take effect. The number of pills that the Demon Lord had consumed had already reached an extremely horrifying count right now. If the power of Bigra was still unable to hold down the other party at this stage, he could only hide in the heaven and earth smelt and be a tortoise for the rest of his life then. Why are you still not cultivating the immortal herb for your lord? The face of the Demon Lord scrunched up as a dark aura brewed around him, causing a boundless killing intent to surge forth. The moment this killing intent was emitted, Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu peed their pants in fear. Horrifying. Way too horrifying. The strength of this Demon Lord was way too tyrannical. The both of them had explored all across the world from north to south, and had come across countless powerful beings. But, the aura that was being given off by this Demon Lord was something that had both of them frozen solid completely. This sense of cowardice was something that was coming forth from the very bottom of their hearts. Sir Demon Lord, please let me rest for a moment. I will cultivate the pill with all my efforts in a little while. Lin Fan was truly cursing out at his mother once more. Why in the world was the power of Bigra not taking effect yet? This was way too messed up, wasn't it? 1 second, 5 seconds. All of a sudden, Lin Fan realized that the body of the Demon Lord jerked out as though there was something that was happening within his body. Huh, the brows of the Demon Lord furrowed as though he had just discovered some problem or something. At this moment, he sent his consciousness deep into his body. Within the body of the Demon Lord was an extremely thick mist that manifested into a gigantic dragon swirling all around the place. Bigra had exploded, and this time around, it wasn't something as simple as breathing it through the nose. It was exploding out from within his body. So what if he were a golden immortal state powerful being? The power of Bigra was a heaven-revolting godly item created out by Lin Fan. Within the ancient saint world, Lin Fan had made a huge name and done so incredibly well, all thanks to the power of Bigra. Who knew how many powerful beings he had FCKED over and scammed to death just with it? Sir Demon Lord, what's wrong with you? Lin Fan let out a smile before his expression changed into one that was ever so deserving of a good whack. He wanted to check out just what the situation was with the Demon Lord right now. The face of the Demon Lord changed starkly. He could sense that the power of the mist within his body was pretty tyrannical. Even when he churned his powers to try and hold it down, he could not withstand it at all. His inner heart was eaten up by this step by step. It was as though he couldn't really maintain control over it anymore. There's something wrong with those pills. At this moment, the Demon Lord snapped to a realization. This was especially the case when he caught sight of the expression on Lin Fan's face. His suspicions were all confirmed. Damned ant, how dare you try to scam your lord? The Demon Lord was enraged as he raised his hand. A boundless power that possessed the laws of the immortal Tao slammed out toward Lin Fan. Hurry up and come with me. Without any hesitation, Lin Fan summoned out the heaven and earth smelt. He then dragged Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu before entering the heaven and earth smelt together. Holy FCK, the faces of Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu were flabbergasted right now. They did not know what was going on. How were they in a furnace right now? Also, what was up with the Demon Lord outside? By the looks of it, he seemed extremely infuriated. Could something have had happened? Big bro, what's going on now? Chu Zanyu asked. That Demon Lord was trying to scam and kill us. If I don't strike first, what do you think will go on then? Lin Fan chuckled out. Oh, I get it now. Big bro, you were just scamming the Demon Lord. Did you do something to the pills, big bro? Jin Zhenggu asked curiously. Lin Fan's lips curled into a grin. What do you think? At this moment, Lin Fan peered through the heaven and earth smelt to check out the situation outside. Bloody hell, this had better work. Otherwise, all his hard work would have been for naught. The only thing he saw was the Demon Lord howling out madly. That devilish face of his was looking even more devilish right now. Those eyes of his were bloodshot as though they were filled with frenzy. Damn it, god damn it, the Demon Lord raged out in his heart. To think that a mere ant would dare deceive him, causing a grand Demon Lord such as himself to be played for in circles just like a fool. An extremely profound power rumbled out of him that was trying its best to expunge this rampaging mist out of his body. However, the mist had caused the Demon Lord to feel extremely terrified. It was because he had just realized that his powers seemed to have fused together with the mist into a single body. If he wanted to purge out the mist, he would have to expend every single last drop of his powers. But, how could he possibly do that? If his powers were gone, it would be an extremely simple task for those ants to kill him. Damn it, god damn it, he was a Demon Lord. How could he be feeling such primitive carnal urges right now? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. When Lin Fan caught sight of everything outside from within the heaven and earth smelt, he was overwhelmed with joy. This was bloody going to succeed for sure now. At this moment, Lin Fan took out his demon city. When the big ancient demon caught sight of everything that was happening outside the heaven and earth smelt, he was scared so badly that his face turned pale as a sheet. Old bro, I'm don't with stuff like this. Please don't make me go out there again. The big ancient demon begged out. A single look was enough for him to tell that the other fellow was under the influence of the power of Bigra. He had long turned extremely crazed and berserk. It didn't matter who one was, as the only thought the demon lord had would be to FCK one to death. Lin Fan patted down on the big ancient demon's shoulder consolingly, this is the last time. Just this one last time. Once you're done with this one time, there won't be a next time. 2 streams of tears poured down from the sides of the big ancient demon's eyes. He felt as though this body of his was going to be betrayed by himself once more. But, when he looked at that sincere face of old bro, he felt that he should trust his old bro this one last time. Looking at the big ancient demon agreeing to it, Lin Fan opened up the heaven and earth smelt immediately and tossed him out. Now that the demon lord was infected with the power of Bigra, as long as he saw a living creature, the first thought on his mind would be to FCK it. If Lin Fan didn't have the big ancient demon attract the firepower of the demon lord, it might truly be extremely difficult to suppress this guy. When Lin Fan looked at the big ancient demon, he could only think silently in his mind, it's going to be, come, on you. As for Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhanggu, when they caught sight of this scene before them, they too were equally dumbfounded for a moment or so. The big ancient demon hollered somehow, come on then. I'm not afraid of you. Boom, and with that, the wrestling match of a century had just begun. At this point, we shall engage in a censorship act of 10,000 words. Chapter 1008 Nearly lost my chastity. Chapter 1008. Nearly lost my chastity. At this moment, the current situation was one that had everyone somewhat stumped. This was especially the case for Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhanggu. Since when had they ever come across a scene as such? Their little hearts started palpitating furiously. Mother ** see King Hell. Just what in the world was this all about? What was that golden immortal state powerful being doing? Why did he turn this way all of a sudden? N-O-V-E in .c ohm. Big bro, who is that heap of muscles? Why do I get the feeling that he's feeling exceptionally miserable in his heart? When Chu Zanyu caught sight of the miserable look on the face of the big ancient demon, he felt his heart tightening. It was as though looking at the big ancient demon was breaking his heart. Highs. This is something difficult to explain in a few words. Lin Fan sighed out in exasperation. His heart was feeling equally ached. Ah, my dear big ancient demon. It's been rough on you in this lifetime. This will definitely be the last time. Arg. At this moment, Lin Fan discovered that the big ancient demon was just standing in the void. His entire body was straightened up as those domineering eyes glared at the berserk figure in the distance with a death stare. Even though the big ancient demon was much larger in body size compared to the demon lord, size wasn't everything. The big ancient demon had roared out to boost his own morale. He then took a single step out and treaded toward the demon lord. He wanted to use his hands to suppress this demon lord savagely. I, the big ancient demon, shall know no fear. The big ancient demon growled out as he was filled with an endless battle intent. Huff, huff. Right now, the devilish-looking demon lord was breathing out heavily. When he caught sight of the big ancient demon's body, his breathing got even heavier. Every single breath of air he puffed out was steaming hot. Heaven and earth's figure. As the demon lord was berserk right now, he had an urge to take down the other party savagely within his heart. As such, he deployed the heaven and earth's figure, causing that initially small and weak body of his to turn into an extremely huge and malevolent demon's body. Boom! A huge fight was breaking out. Lin Fan, who was within the heaven and earth smelt right now, sighed out slightly. The big ancient demon was truly a good companion of his. Each time something as such happened, he would always be at the vanguard position. The entire earth cracked out as relentless roars boomed out. Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhanggu were just breaking out in shivers. This was a fight that was far from ordinary. They were so rattled that they did not even know what sort of words they could use to describe something as such anymore. All they could say was that this was too darned wild. It's time. When Lin Fan caught sight of the situation out, his heart leapt with joy. The big ancient demon had held the demon lord down entirely by now. Actually, no, it was more accurate to say that the demon lord had held the big ancient demon down entirely by now. Being pinned down on the ground, the big ancient demon did not have any chance to fight back at all. At this moment, Lin Fan came out of the heaven and earth smelt. He then took out his super-duper ultra-legendary weapon, the 9-5 legendary brick. At a moment as such, it was only a legendary weapon as such that could salvage everything. Lin Fan looked at his 9-5 legendary brick. For a moment, he could not help but sigh out as well. It had been so long since he had used this legendary weapon that it was almost rotting by staying with him by now. This brick was no ordinary legendary weapon. In fact, even a supreme-grade immortal weapon could not even be compared to a fraction of it. Even though it did not wield much destructive power, its capabilities to knock someone out for 1 minute allowed one to kill every single god and Buddha it came across. Pishu. Lin Fan's body shifted as he tunneled through the earth. He did not dare to be overly brazen, he had to make his way up ahead sneakily. At this moment, the demon lord felt as though his heart was about to explode. As a demon lord, how could he be doing something as such? However, he felt as though his inner heart was being tied down by some incredible force, such that he could not wrestle any bit of control away from it. This was a situation that had the demon lord feeling extremely afraid. He was a golden immortal state powerful being, with a mental state that was as resolute as the heavens. There should be nothing that could penetrate through this. But, faced with the power before him, he felt as though his inner heart could barely hold out any longer. This was something all too scary for the demon lord to face. Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu were hidden at a corner right now. What is our big bro trying to do? I've got no idea, but our big bro's guts are really way too big. That's a golden immortal state being. At this moment, Lin Fan was extremely excited. Rich. He was going to strike it rich soon. A golden immortal state powerful being. If he could kill this fella, how many experience points would that amount to? Just the laws of the golden immortal alone would be enough for him to earn a heap. Rolling about on the ground, the demon lord and the big ancient demon created a sandstorm of dust. The big ancient demon was trying his best to hold his fort so that he would not lose his defenses. But, under the relentless assaults of the demon lord, even the big ancient demon was finding it hard to continue guarding. Old bro, hurry up and come save me. The big ancient demon yelled out helplessly. I'm coming, don't worry now, Lin Fan called out in his heart. But, at a moment as such, safety took precedence over anything else. Who knew if the demon lord would pull off some cheap tricks? He crept closer to the demon lord stealthily. The demon lord, who had taken on the heaven and earth's figure right now, had a body that was much larger than that of the big ancient demon. As the two fumbled about on the ground, the impact was cataclysmic. This was absolutely frightening, just like gigantic mountains that were rolling about on the ground. I'm going to F***ck you to death. The demon lord was choking the big ancient demon with his arms as those bloodshot eyes of his shone with an endless lust. And right now, the demon lord was reacting even more furiously than ever. Oh my FC King God. I'm going to lose my chastity. When the big ancient demon felt that metal rod-like thing poking at him, his heart was despairing beyond anything else. Ever since he had turned into the weapon spirit of old bro, the path of his life was one that was fraught with misery. During normal fights, old bro wouldn't even summon him out to fight the other party. But each time the other party was influenced by the power of Bigra, old bro would always summon him to allow the other party to mess with him. Up to this point, the big ancient demon was even starting to question if he was even a weapon spirit anymore. I'm coming. At this moment, Lin Fan bolted up from the ground with an extremely stylish look. The 9-5 legendary brick in his hand had unknowingly raised Lin Fan's style points even higher. When Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu caught sight of this, they could not help but exclaim out, big bro is big bro indeed. To think that he could look so bloody suave with this dire counterattack. We haven't acknowledged the wrong big bro. From this day forth, the path of our lives will definitely be a flourishing one. Demon Lord, go home and take care of your kids. Lin Fan roared out with a full overbearing might. That was just how tyrannical he was going to be. A single brick out and nothing in the world could stand in its way. Bam! The innate function of a full minute of fainting was activated instantly. The initially berserk demon lord came to a halt in his motions all of a sudden. That berserk aura of his was retracted as his head shook about giddily, as though there were countless birds revolving around his head. Bam! Complete knockout. Old bro, you've finally struck out. I was this close to losing my chastity. The big ancient demon said. Don't worry, your chastity has long been gone. Lin Fan replied. The moment the big ancient demon heard this, how could he possibly dare to admit to it? Old bro, you can't malign me as such. For so many times, I've always just been protecting myself. I've never once let those guys get their hands on me. Lin Fan glanced over at the big ancient demon. If he trusted this guy's words, ghosts would appear for sure. Big bro, you are way too strong. When Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu caught sight of this, they ran over from the distance. The both of them let out astounded looks on their faces. Oh, what a great old bro. Our old bro, to think that he had really knocked that golden immortal demon lord sprawling. Tyrannical, this was truly way too tyrannical. Chapter 1009 Ascend the Heavens in a Single Step. Chapter 1009, Ascend the Heavens in a Single Step. After knocking the golden immortal state powerful being sprawling, Lin Fan was filled with joy. This was resourcefulness. This was his killer move. At times, the things that were most useful were still the things that were created by him in the past. On could just look at the power of Bigra. So tyrannical, so awesome. Right now, Lin Fan had quite a number of killer moves. But, out of them, the most devious of all was still this spirit of Bigra. At this moment, the demon lord reverted back to his original state now that he was unable to sustain the heaven and earth figure. Big bro, this fella, what should we do? Chu Zanyu glared at this fella before him with hooked eyes. This was a golden immortal. In the endless mainland, a golden immortal could be considered as a powerful being of one whole part of the world. He could kill off anyone with just the flip of his palm. Even though Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu had explored the endless mainland for such a long time, they had really not come across a golden immortal state being. And, at the golden immortal state, there was a distinction in their levels as well. Not all golden immortal state beings were equally formidable. Some of the extremely strong golden immortal state powerful beings could kill 4 to 5 other golden immortals even at the same cultivation state. As for this demon lord, he must definitely be a talented genius amongst the golden immortals. What else can we do? Of course, we must kill him. Otherwise, if we were remembered by heart by a golden immortal state being, that would be one hell of a tragedy. Lin Fan chuckled out. Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu nodded their heads immediately. Big bro was right. If they were remembered by a golden immortal state being, they wouldn't be able to even sleep at night from here on forth. This fella looks damn devilish, gosh. He looks even better than women. This is unbearable, Chu Zanyu remarked in envy. You can go ahead and reward him with a few kicks in the face. Lin Fan said. The moment Chu Zanyu heard that, he was somewhat frightened. This was a golden immortal state powerful being. If he were to head up and give him some kicks and the other party ended up waking up, wouldn't he be dead meat? What are you afraid of? Lin Fan shook his head. He then raised a fist and sent a flurry of punches down onto the face of the demon lord. At the same time, he was cussing out in his mouth. Not only are you strong, you are so good looking. You deserve to be whacked. After he was done whacking, Lin Fan heaved out a sigh of relief. That was so darned releasing. The impact of the blood-bursting fist of the North Star was one that was extraordinary. Just those punches alone were enough to cause the face of the demon lord to swell and bruise up. When Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu caught sight of this, they could not help but gulp down their saliva. Big bro was so tyrannical. Lin Fan raised his head and looked up at the void. At this moment, the void was extremely silent, without any form of activity. Now that this golden immortal demon lord was laying right below his feet, it was best to first harvest him in properly before killing him. At the same time, Lin Fan was immensely curious about just how many experience points he would gain from this. For Lin Fan, that was a world of curiosity there. Bare nudeness. This was another one of Lin Fan's godly techniques. As he moved his finger, all the clothing on the demon lord was stripped off. A storage ring landed in Lin Fan's hand, which he then opened to check out. Shing! An extremely sharp flash of light streaked by from within the storage ring and attacked Lin Fan. Lin Fan was startled and made way immediately while his heart skipped a beat. To think that this demon lord would be this sinister that there were even tricks in his storage ring. But, Lin Fan had a headache right now. Who would have thought that this demon lord would have laid down a grand formation within the storage ring? The formation was revolving around endlessly while bearing a tremendous killing intent. Hue, do you think that you're able to block out yours truly with just something like this? That's got to be dreaming. Lin Fan tossed the storage ring into his heaven and earth smelt directly. He then controlled the heaven and earth smelt to refine this storage ring entirely. Under that power of refinement, the formation disintegrated as the treasures within were sprayed out into the heaven and earth smelt. Lin Fan took a quick glance. There were quite a number of decent items. This was especially the case for a spirit vein present within the storage ring. The spirit vein was just like a gigantic dragon that swiveled around furiously within the heaven and earth smelt while emanating a thick and boundless spirit chi. Refine. Lin Fan did not think twice as he forcefully refined everything within. There were quite a lot more herbs within. But, it was a pity that there were no more immortal herbs. Even then, regardless of what was inside, everything was all cultivated into a single item. Pills through thought. The pill fire burned out furiously as it wrapped out everything that the demon lord had within it. It didn't take long before a single pill appeared, floating gently within the heaven and earth smelt. Ding! Congratulations on creating Immortal Attainment Pill. Lin Fan took the immortal pill and popped it in. Ding! Experience points plus 300 million. Ding! Congratulations on leveling Cultivation State. Cultivation State. True Immortal State Middle Level. Not bad, not bad. To think that this pill would give him a full gain in Cultivation State. But on second thought, this was only about right. After all, this was a pill cultivated out using all of Demon Lord's spirit herbs. The experience points within must be vast indeed. If it were any ordinary person who had swallowed this pill, they would only be left with a single outcome, exploding out entirely. The tremendous amount of medicinal powers within it were definitely not something that ordinary folks could actually handle. Lin Fan was the only one in possession of this system, and could convert the pill into experience points entirely. At this moment, Lin Fan cast his sights toward the Demon Lord, who was lying down on the ground, as his lips curled into a grin. Hee hee. An extremely dodgy smile beamed out widely on Lin Fan's face. This Demon Lord must have never imagined that he would have an outcome as such one day. As for Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu, when they heard that laughter, their bodies shivered out coldly. They felt that their big bro was really somewhat scary right now. At the same time, they felt some pity toward this Demon Lord. The Demon Lord was truly in an extremely wretched state right now. At this moment, Lin Fan took out the Eternal Axe and aimed slightly at the body of the Demon Lord. What's wrong, big bro? Chu Zanyu asked. Lin Fan shook his head. I'm just thinking where I should chop first. Big bro, what is there to think about? Wouldn't it be fine to just cut down with a single axe and chop him to death? Chu Zanyu was puzzled. You don't understand. There is much knowledge to be learned about chopping down people. If you chop down with too much violence, fresh blood will spray out everywhere. But, if you don't chop it down furiously enough, the other party might not die either. Therefore, the positioning is extremely important. Lin Fan said while gesticulating once more. Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu nodded their head with a eureka expression, to think that there is so much wisdom in chopping others. That's without a doubt. Lin Fan chuckled out. At this moment, the Demon Lord seemed as though he was about to wake up from his slumber. But, how could Lin Fan give the former that chance? With a single brick slapped down, he fell into a dead sleep once more. Hue hue, go die then. Lin Fan raised his axe and flung it down onto the body of the Demon Lord. This single axe was filled with extraordinary might. With an extremely sharp power, it cut through this totally unprepared body of the Demon Lord. Bam! The body of the Demon Lord split wide open. The laws of the Golden Immortal were shattered immediately. This was a sight that had Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu totally taken aback. They knew that laws were one of the most resolute existences in the world. But, to think that it would shatter with just a single cleave of that axe. The horrifying nature of this act was one that they could not dare to imagine at all. Terrifying. It was just way too terrifying. And at this moment, the notifications from the system came through, filling Lin Fan's heart with joy. Ding! Congratulations on slaying Golden Immortal Full Cultivation State Powerful Being. Ding! Experience points plus. Ding! Cultivation State leveled up. True Immortal State Upper Level. True Immortal State Full Cultivation State. N-O-V-E in .c ohm. Mystic Immortal Lower Level. Mystic Immortal Middle Level. Mystic Immortal Upper Level. Mystic Immortal Full Cultivation State. Holy FCK. At this moment, Lin Fan's mouth was just agape. This was way too Mother Sea King savage, wasn't it? He was just literally skyrocketing right now. Skipping through so many levels in one single go. His life was so damn tyrannical. Perhaps, it might not be long before he could ascend to the heavens in a single step and just FCK over the entire world. Chapter 1010 Trade Association. Chapter 1010 Trade Association. If the powers within his body initially were like a small stream, they were just like a vast ocean right now. The raising of his cultivation state had Lin Fan's strength skyrocketing with it as well. This could be considered as reaching the heavens in a single bound. Right after he left the sect, he came across a chance encounter and was able to kill a golden immortal being to receive an ocean-like vast amount of experience points, such that his strength was raised to mystic immortal full cultivation state. If anyone in the Heaven and Earth sect were to know about this, there would definitely be a large number of deaths from the shock alone. He was merely a single step away from that golden immortal state right now. Legends had it that when one entered the golden immortal state, they would possess power that even devils and ghosts would not know about. Unless one were to tread onto that cultivation state personally, they would never be able to understand the benefits of it. And for Lin Fan, he was just that step away from being a golden immortal right now. If there were another golden immortal state powerful being appearing right now, that might truly just push Lin Fan over to the next cultivation state. However, any powerful being with cultivation state of golden immortal state was not to be reckoned with. The main point to take note of was that this golden immortal demon lord that Lin Fan had bumped into was gravely injured. As such, he could not even exert 1% of his entire strength. If Lin Fan were to meet a perfectly fine golden immortal powerful being, he might even have his sh*t whacked out of him by the other party. Big bro, your strength. Chu Zanyu stared at Lin Fan with wide agape jaws. Even though his cultivation state wasn't all that high, he had some general knowledge about the world out there. He could evidently feel the changes in the aura of his big bro, turning into something that was even more horrifying than before. My strength has risen, that's all. Nothing to be alarmed about. Lin Fan remarked indifferently. But in the ears of Chu Zanyu, these words were thunderous. Strength had risen. Bloody hell, how the hell did he raise his strength? Chu Zanyu was just absolutely confounded. Bravo, the strength of Big Bro has risen. From now on, our safety will be even more guaranteed. Jin Zhenggu exclaimed out excitedly. He could truly tell that following this Big Bro before him along was definitely the right choice to make. His heart was filled with a deep sense of happiness right now. It's about time, let's head off. There's nothing much worth us lingering here for anymore. Lin Fan spoke up. Big bro, where should we head to now? Chu Zanyu asked curiously. Lin Fan was stunned for a moment. This was a very good question. Even he himself did not know where they should head to right now. The reason why he had left the sect was to raise his strength. But, this thing about raising one's strength was something that depended on luck at times as well. If Lady Luck were shining down on him, he might bump into a few powerful beings in a row. But, if his luck were in the dumps, he would just meet a bunch of noobs everywhere. Furthermore, Lin Fan wasn't someone who loved pointless killing. It wasn't as though the people out there had any enmity with him. What rights did he have to go around killing others? Jin Zhenggu suddenly thought of something, right? 8,000 miles away from this place is a city that's really bustling. How about we head over there for a look? Lin Fan's interest was piqued somewhat. Alright. Let us head over there then. Let's go. Lin Fan brought both of them with him and tore through the void to leave this underground abyss. When they entered the void, he headed in the direction that Jin Zhenggu had pointed out. It wasn't long after Lin Fan left, a few incense sticks time at best, that a figure appeared out in the space of the underground abyss. When he caught sight of everything before him, he was totally befuddled. Pointing out with his finger at the void, a spot of light landed out into his palms. To think that the demon lord would be dead. Just who was it that had killed him? ... After a long time, a city entered Lin Fan's sight. Big bro, this is the Emperor Heaven city here. It's bustling with life, Jin Zhenggu remarked excitedly. There are many disciples from different sects out there. This is especially the case because there are two gigantic trade associations here that link up the entire endless mainland. Chu Zanyu added on. When Lin Fan heard this, he was even more interested now. This was the first time he was hearing of something such as a trade association here. Back in the Xuanwang world, there were trade associations as well. However, there was no way they could link up with the entire Xuanwang world. They simply did not have that sort of influence. As for the ancient saint world, it was even more impossible for trade associations to exist. The ancient race beings were the overlords of that place. Who would dare to create any trade associations? What are the backgrounds of these trade associations? Lin Fan asked. One of them is the Jun Baoshuan Trade Association while the other one is the Shen Yuntian Trade Association. Rumors have it that these two trade associations have an extremely strong backing behind them respectively. Most ordinary people would not dare to trifle them. Chu Zanyu replied. Oh, let us head over to check it out then. Lin Fan's heart leapt with joy right now. He loved things and people with influence behind them. If they were friends with him, then tough luck on Lin Fan. But, if there were any form of enmity formed, then that would definitely be for the best. When the three of them landed on the ground, they did not cause much of a stir. After all, there were many martial artists around them. There were many disciples of sects over here, but there were also adventurers as well. The difference between the two was quite easy to spot. When they entered the city, there were no guards watching over the entrance at all. Within the Emperor Heaven City, there wasn't really anyone who would cause trouble, because of the two huge trade associations that were sitting firmly within. The strength of these two trade associations was already extremely strong on the surface, let alone the hidden backings they had behind the scenes. According to Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu, there was once a golden immortal state powerful being who had caused trouble here in the Emperor Heaven City. Eventually, he just disappeared from the face of the world. It was only later on that people discovered that the golden immortal powerful being's cultivation state had been crippled off completely and he was living life as a beggar that couldn't be more ordinary within the Emperor Heaven City. Because of that incident, everyone realized that they must never ever cause any trouble in the Emperor Heaven City. Otherwise, no one would be able to save them. When Lin Fan heard the story, his heart skipped a beat as well. To be able to cripple a golden immortal powerful being. That was outrageous. As long as one were to enter the golden immortal state, there would be many ways to preserve their own lives. Even if they were to meet a powerful being they could not deal with, there was a huge chance they could escape from the hands of the other party. But, to think that that golden immortal could not escape at all. Naturally, he must have met with someone extremely formidable. No matter if it were real or not, Lin Fan's interest was only growing with each passing moment. Walking on the streets, the lively scenes of the Emperor Heaven City were all imprinted into Lin Fan's mind. This was truly a piece of treasure ground. There were countless martial artists roaming all around while there was a good mix of people with no cultivation states at all as well. Lin Fan's heart leapt with joy. He was in possession of the pills that all these people thought to be heaven revolting. He wondered if he could sell the pills to earn something in return. That was something that had him quite curious. Let's go. Time to head to the Shenyuntian Trade Association to sell some stuff there. Lin Fan said. Sure, Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu replied excitedly. They had been to this place many times now, and were extremely familiar with it. Soon, they arrived at the Shenyuntian Trade Association. Big bro, this is it. Chu Zanyu pointed out. Lin Fan raised his head. Indeed, it was far from ordinary. Even the attendants in the shop were all powerful beings of true immortal state. Even if this were within a sect, they would be pretty remarkable beings. And yet, in the Shenyuntian Trade Association, they were nothing but an employee. When Lin Fan stepped into the shop, a man came forward immediately. 3 sirs, may I be of assistance? The man was gentle and polite. One could barely tell anything extraordinary about him. But, if anyone were to underestimate him, they would be making a mistake so huge. The strength of this man was far from normal. True immortal state upper level. Oh, I heard that the capabilities of the Shenyuntian Trade Association are extremely strong. Just nice. I've got some pills here that I'm looking to sell. Lin Fan said. After listening to Lin Fan, the man chuckled out, please enter, 3 sirs. No matter what sort of pills they are, our Shenyuntian Trade Association will be able to take them in. Even if they are supreme grade immortal pills, I'm sure the Shenyuntian Trade Association has what it takes to give our 3 sirs here a price point you will be satisfied with. November LBJNN. Lin Fan smiled out. Such bold words that were coming forth from this man. Supreme grade immortal pills were not something ordinary. A single pop of those could have anyone skyrocketing into the heavens. However, it was definitely not easy to create supreme grade immortal pills either. Even that strand of immortal herb from the Demon Lord was not sufficient to create a supreme grade immortal pill. The required ingredients for a single supreme grade immortal pill were extremely horrifying. Not only that, there was an extremely low probability of success for something like that. If one were to fail, the losses would be extremely humongous. Therefore, let alone supreme grade immortal pills, even upper grade immortal pills were something that countless of people would actually kill for. Chapter 10-11 Selling Pills. Chapter 10-11 Selling Pills. N.O.V.L.B. in .C. Ohm. Within a small little private booth. This couldn't be considered as anything high-end. There was just a curtain covering them. The 4 of them sat down. Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu sat beside Lin Fan, somewhat curious. They had truly not been to the Shenyuntian Trade Association before. When they were passing by the Emperor Heaven City usually, they would take a look from outside at best. The main reason was that even though they had caught many people with the Heaven and Earth net, most of them were people with an ordinary strength level. Furthermore, they did not dare to take out some of those items to sell. Who knew if they would be discovered by anyone? If they were, it would truly be a tragedy by then. Therefore, as long as it were pills, they would just split them amongst themselves before consuming them. If it were anything else, they would use it if they could. As for those that they couldn't, they just kept them with them and they would no longer serve a purpose. I wonder what you three sirs want to sell. The man smiled out while asking. Out of the three of them, he could see through two of these men. However, he could not make out Lin Fan at all. That had him wary. He knew that this man before him was not simple. At the same time, he was definitely the leader out of the three of them. He was a true immortal state being. If there were anyone whom he couldn't make out, the cultivation state of the other party might possibly be above that of true immortal state. I want to sell a pill which can allow one to regain their powers instantly. Lin Fan said. When Nan Yangtze first heard it, he felt a little disappointed. Pills that helped one to regain their powers was something they had no lack of over here. But all of a sudden, when he heard the word, instantly, he was slightly frozen as though he was in disbelief. A pill that could regain one's powers instantly. Could it be an immortal pill? Lin Fan smiled out without saying anything more as he just took out a single mixed Yuan powers pill and placed it on the table. Nan Yangtze looked at the pill on the table before him and furrowed his brows. This was no immortal pill. That was because there would be laws of the immortal Tao wrapped around any single immortal pill. Even if it were a lower grade immortal pill, there would be a single thread of law on the surface of the pill. But, the pill before him right now did not have any laws of the immortal Tao. At the same time, it looked extremely normal. There didn't seem to be anything special about it. The reason why Nan Yangtze could become an employee with some slight status in the Shenyuntian Trade Association was because he had some good judgment. Even though there was no law of the immortal Tao on this pill, the aura emitted out from it had a different feel to it. The power of the pill was extremely rich. This was something that ordinary pills would not be able to compare with. Pardon my lack of judgment, but I can't make out this pill at all. Nan Yangtze said. He had seen countless pills before. Even if it were a supreme-grade immortal pill, he could make out the depths of it. As for this pill before him, he just couldn't make out what was different about it at all. Lin Fan chuckled out before grabbing onto Chu Zanyu's shoulder. Big bro, what are you doing? Chu Zanyu was startled, not knowing what was happening. Nan Yangtze was equally stumped, wondering what the other party intended by this. But all of a sudden, Lin Fan's powers pushed out furiously, causing all the powers within Chu Zanyu's body to disperse out immediately. Lin Fan's strength was far stronger than Chu Zanyu's. For him to disperse Chu Zanyu's powers was something that was extremely easy. Swallow down this pill. Even though Chu Zanyu did not know what had happened, he took the pill and popped it down without thinking twice, since Big Bro was the one who had asked for it. Nan Yangtze looked at Chu Zanyu with a look of surprise in his face. He knew that the powers of this man before him had been dispersed out completely. In layman terms, his powers were expended completely. Even though this mixed Yuan powers pill is no immortal pill, the effects it produces are one that even ordinary immortal pills cannot produce. Lin Fan said. After Chu Zanyu consumed the pill, the powers of his that were expended recovered instantly. When Nan Yangtze caught sight of this, his entire face was stumped. How could this be? How about now? What do you think a pill like this is worth? Lin Fan asked while smiling. For a moment or so, Nan Yangtze did not know how to answer. Even though Chu Zanyu's powers had truly recovered, a pill as such was something still pretty hard to believe unless he consumed it personally. Can it recover the powers of any cultivation state instantly? Nan Yangtze asked. Haha, Lin Fan laughed out, do you think that's possible? If it could allow the powers of any single cultivation state to recover instantly, I wouldn't be sitting here and talking with you right now. At this moment, Nan Yangtze felt that his question was a little ridiculous as well. If it could recover the powers of any cultivation state instantly, that would be way too horrifying. It can instantly recover anything below true immortal state. True immortal state will recover up to 50% instantly. Mystic immortals can recover up to 30%. Anything higher than that and it will have no more use. Nan Yangtze looked at Lin Fan. How many of these pills do you have? Lin Fan raised a single finger. 100. All of these pills were cultivated by Lin Fan personally. Because he had no other use for them later on, he had just kept them in his storage. When Nan Yangtze heard the amount, he stood up immediately. Please hold on for a moment, 3 sirs. I can't make the decision for these pills. All right, Lin Fan nodded his head. After Nan Yangtze made his leave, he intentionally arranged for Lin Fan and the others to be seated within a slightly higher-ended room. It didn't take long before he returned with an elderly man. The elderly man had a cultivation state of mystic immortal. When he caught sight of Lin Fan, his eyes shone with a glint as well. To think that even he could not make out Lin Fan's cultivation state. This is the shopkeeper of our Shen Yuntian Trade Association. Nan Yangzi introduced. Lin Fan nodded his head. Very well then. We can talk about the price now. The elderly man came over and cupped his fists before speaking up. 3 sirs, could you please provide 1 more of those pills and allow me to give it a test? If it truly bears the effects as before, these 2 pills that were expended will be placed on the tab of the Shen Yuntian Trade Association. Lin Fan took out a pill and tossed it toward the elderly man. The elderly man took over the pill and observed it carefully. He could not tell anything special about it either. Even though the background of these 3 men was unknown, he believed that there would truly not be anyone who would dare to act insolently within the Emperor Heaven City. At this moment, the body of the elderly man jerked out slightly as he removed 30% of his powers before ingesting that pill into his tummy. All of a sudden, the face of the elderly man changed starkly as he looked at Lin Fan in shock. It can really recover 30% of my powers. The elderly man gasped out. Lin Fan's lips curled into a grin. Since you've given it a test yourself, name your price then. The elderly man thought for a moment. These pills of yours. Even though they do not possess the laws of the immortal Tao, their effects are similar to that of a lower-grade immortal pill. Lin Fan naturally knew what was so precious about his mixed yuan powers pill, its ability to heal up powers instantly. However, there was a downside to this mixed yuan powers pill. The higher the cultivation state, the weaker the effects would be. This was especially the case for golden immortal state powerful beings, for whom there was no effects at all. And the main reason for that was because the spirit herbs used were just not good enough. If he could have better quality spirit herbs or even immortal herbs, even golden immortal state beings. Heck, even powerful beings above golden immortal state would be able to heal up their powers instantly. 100,000 immortal crystals for each pill. This is the greatest price that the Shen Yuntian Trade Association can offer. The elderly man said. The immortal crystal was a common currency used throughout the endless mainland. If one wanted to obtain immortal crystals, they would have to find an immortal vein. However, immortal veins were monopolized by a few powerhouses, and were mined day and night. Within the immortal crystals was immortal power. It could be used to aid in cultivation or even lay down formations. There were countless of usages to them. Even a lower-grade immortal pill that could heal up one's powers just like back in the Heaven and Earth sect would only be able to sell for 90,000 immortal crystals each in the Shen Yuntian Trade Association. But evidently, Lin Fan's pills were far more valuable than those immortal pills. Sure, no problem. However, I've got another type of pill here that is far more valuable than the mixed yuan powers pill. We'll just have to see if the Shen Yuntian Trade Association is able to offer an acceptable price for it then. Lin Fan chuckled out while saying. Right now, the pill that he could mass produce, and was even more valuable than anything else, was none other than the damage-leaving pill. To be honest, that pill was way more valuable than the mixed yuan powers pill. Chapter 10-12 Bursting with Fortune. Chapter 10-12 Bursting with Fortune. These words of Lin Fan filled the elderly man with both astonishment and anticipation. Just this mixed yuan powers pill was startling enough. To think that there would be an even more incredible pill. That was something that had his appetite whetted. Nan Yangzi stood by the side. Even though this mixed yuan powers pill was useless for anyone at golden immortal state and above, the largest consumer group of the trade association right now comprised of powerful beings below the golden immortal state. A single pill like that might not be able to cause that much of a stir. But, if they were to divide the 100 pills into 10 or even 20 packages, that would definitely cause an uproar. Most adventurers would not have the capital to purchase it. However, the Shen Yuntian Trade Association usually targeted those high spenders, families with power and status, or those second generations in the sects, etc. Their cultivation states might not be too high, but those people would never ever be short of immortal crystals. Under the watchful gaze of the elderly man and Nan Yangzi, Lin Fan took out the damage-leaving pill. Because of the mixed yuan powers pill from before, both of them naturally did not dare to look down on this pill. Even though this pill did not have any laws of the immortal Tao just like its predecessor, both of them knew that the effects of this pill must definitely be extraordinary. What's the use of this pill? The elderly man spoke up and asked. It wasn't because they weren't knowledgeable, just that they truly could not make it out at all. They did not know who had cultivated these pills, but this was something that was practically earth-shaking, and could cause gods and ghosts alike to cry out. To think that these were pills whose secrets even they could not make out at their cultivation states. If that were the case, who else could make anything out of them? Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu smiled out with pride. This was especially the case when they caught sight of the stupefied expressions of those people. They were especially elated over that. This was the big bro they knew. So awesome. The pills he took out were stuff that others could not figure out at all. It was dependent on whether they were convinced by it. However, what they did not know was that it was difficult for Lin Fan to convince others of the effects of his own pills. Jin Zhenggu, lie over. Lin Fan spoke up saying. Big bro, what for? Jin Zhenggu did not understand. Just sprawl over on the table. That will do, Lin Fan said. Even though Jin Zhenggu did not know what Big Bro was trying to do with this, he knew that Big Bro would definitely not harm him. Thus, he laid down on the table obediently before turning his head around asking, Big Bro, is this position alright? Yes, that will do. Later on, you will test out this pill to open up the eyes of these two gentlemen here. Lin Fan continued. Got it, Big Bro. But, how do I test those pills? Jin Zhenggu was puzzled now. But the next moment, he knew and understood. This was going to cost him his life. Out of nowhere, a sharp sword had appeared in Lin Fan's hands as he pierced it through Jin Zhenggu's body immediately. Big bro, this. Jin Zhenggu was startled and confused. Chu Zanyu was equally frightened. However, in his heart, he knew that Big Bro would definitely not strike out for no reason at all. This must be a requirement for that pill. November LBJNN. When the elderly man and Nan Yangtze caught sight of everything before them, they were dumbfounded. Weren't these guys comrades? Why did he strike out all of a sudden? Lin Fan then stuffed the pill into Jin Zhenggu's mouth. You guys can check it out for yourselves. This pill is called the damage-leaving pill, and can heal up one's injuries instantly. Lin Fan explained. The moment he was done with his words, the initially gravely injured Jin Zhenggu bolted upright all of a sudden. He checked and patted down on his body while revealing an astounded look. It doesn't hurt at all. Not only that, there isn't even any scratch or scar. Jin Zhenggu was startled. Chu Zanyu was equally flabbergasted. Right now, the only composed person on the scene was Lin Fan. Lin Fan nodded his head in satisfaction. Seemed like these two little bros that he had taken in were not without their merits. At least, he would have someone to test out pills on. The elderly man and Nan Yangtze were both stumped right now. Even though they both had a broad knowledge of things, they were truly taken aback by the effects of the pill right now. Yet another instant recovery. But, how could this be? Just what sort of a pill could allow one's injuries to recover instantly? Even immortal pills would not be able to have the same effects. Only those supreme-grade immortal pills which possessed power that even gods and devils couldn't grasp might have these effects. But, supreme-grade immortal pills were things that one could only hope to come across by chance. How could they be so easily obtainable? The elderly man's eyes were wide opened right now. He then looked over at Lin Fan. This damage-leaving pill, can it cure golden immortals? Lin Fan chuckled out. Anyone below mystic immortals is healed up instantly. Mystic immortals would require 4 pills. But, golden immortals would require 1,000 and above. At this moment, the elderly man and Nan Yangtze were both equally astounded. Horrifying. This was way too horrifying. Even though 1,000 and above for golden immortals was quite a lot, there was still an actual amount for them to lean back on to know that it would work. This was just a god pill. Name a price then. I've got 100 of these pills as well. A pill is such that can practically reverse a state of life and death. This is not something that those mixed Yuan powers pills could compare with at all. Lin Fan spoke up. If the price were too low, Lin Fan would not be prepared to sell it. Within the sect, he had already sold them for an extremely low price. But, now that this was the outside world, profit was naturally the biggest factor here. Since Lin Fan could dare to take out pills as such, he was not afraid of being targeted. If he were targeted, he could not have wished for more. If he could even FCK over a golden immortal and kill him, who else could he not kill? At this moment, the elderly man went silent. Please hold on for a moment. The price of a pill is such. I've got to go seek some advice. Alright, but make that fast. Entertain our esteemed guests properly. The elderly man looked at Nan Yangtze and instructed. After the elderly man left, Lin Fan sat in the place and waited slowly. Indeed, it didn't take long before the elderly man rushed back. How did it go? Lin Fan asked. The elderly man spoke up. 500,000 immortal crystals for each pill. Deal. Lin Fan did not hesitate. I'll hand over the pills when I see the money. Alright. The fact that our Shen Yuntian Trade Association is able to remain standing for dozens of thousands of years is because our credibility is assured. The elderly man replied. As expected, everything was soon prepared. The elderly man swept his robes as 60 million immortal crystals fused together, forming 6 miniature immortal veins that were accepted by Lin Fan. These immortal veins were just like gigantic dragons that rumbled out furiously, made up of the richest composition of immortal chi. This was a deal that Lin Fan was extremely satisfied with. As for some of the odd remainders, Lin Fan handed them all over to Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu. Seeing these immortal crystals, the both of them were elated beyond anything else. May I ask if you're able to continue supplying pills as such in the long term? The elderly man asked. Lin Fan shook his head. These pills are pretty difficult to cultivate out. However, if I do cultivate them, I can sell them to you guys first. The elderly man chuckled out before adding on, do you need to purchase anything? The Shen Yuntian Trade Association will definitely have it. We'll take a look then. Lin Fan nodded his head. He did want to buy some pills as well. After that, under the lead of the elderly man, Lin Fan and the others came to the place where items were sold. Everything displayed here were samples. From low to high-end stuff, there was everything conceivable present here, with the quantity available displayed as well. In fact, there were even immortal pills and supreme-grade immortal weapons. However, because these supreme-grade immortal weapons were extremely precious, there wasn't any actual item to display, and only descriptions of them were present. The prices were naturally not low either. All of them were just astronomical values. Even if Lin Fan had 60 million immortal crystals right now, he would not be able to fill out the odd remainders of the cost. Lin Fan took a look around slowly. He wanted to purchase some spirit herbs or immortal herbs. Stuff like immortal weapons and whatnot were not important for Lin Fan. As long as he had the materials, he could create those immortal weapons as well. Furthermore, he had quite a few good treasures with him right now as well. However, those spirit herbs and immortal herbs were extremely useful. If he were to cultivate some good pills, he could pop them down himself and gain some experience points. The most important thing right now was still to raise his cultivation state after all. Chapter 1013 The Welfare of Being Little Bros. Chapter 1013 The Welfare of Being Little Bros. This is a lower-grade immortal weapon, the 8 Desolates Blood War Flag. When you use it against your enemies, there will be a force of a legion standing behind you. Even if it were a true immortal state being, they would definitely be repressed down by a killing chi if they were sucked into it. This is a supreme-grade utmost treasure, the Green Sky's blue robe. It can defend against a single full-powered strike of a true immortal state being. The elderly man introduced a variety of treasures for Lin Fan. When Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu caught sight of these treasures, they were completely bedazzled. These were good stuff here. But, Lin Fan did not have much of an interest in them. He could craft out these treasures here as well. And, even if he couldn't, these were merely decorative items for him that wouldn't be able to make it on the battlefield at all. When the elderly man noticed how Lin Fan didn't seem to have too much of an interest towards these items, he led them to yet another area. When Lin Fan caught sight of the items before him, his interest was piqued. This is a strand of lower-grade immortal herb, the Blue Sky's yellow hell grass. Born from the yellow hell's dead grounds, this is something good for cultivating pills. The elderly man said. Lin Fan took a quick glance at the price, 1 million immortal crystals. This was a little expensive. But of course, the price was expensive for most other people, but not for Lin Fan. Ordinary pill cultivation masters would not be able to achieve a success rate of 100% when using immortal herbs to cultivate pills. Therefore, spending such a huge amount of money to purchase an immortal herb would be a tremendous loss if they failed in their attempt. Give me 10 of this. Lin Fan said. Sure. The elderly man nodded his head. They then continued to shop around. Nothing else caught Lin Fan's attention other than spirit herbs and immortal herbs. Eventually, after making a full round of the entire place, there was nothing left of the 60 million immortal crystals. However, Lin Fan was satisfied right now. He had bought so many herbs and could cultivate out plenty of pills. Right now, he was a mystic immortal full cultivation state being. If he could break through to the golden immortal state, that would definitely be a soar into the heavens as he would become an overlord of a part of the world. After the elderly man sent Lin Fan off, he returned to his house. Nan Yangtze entered and asked, Sir, I could have attended to them earlier on. Why did you have to go through the trouble to attend to them personally? The elderly man looked at Nan Yangtze and chuckled out, if I hadn't been the one attending to them personally, how would I know what herbs he had bought as well as the quantity? Sir, your subordinate here doesn't understand. Nan Yangtze asked again curiously. Every single strand of herb, as well as the quantity, has been remembered in my heart. With that, we can try to cultivate out the pills that he was selling. Also, we can also have a rough grasp of the ratio required for the herbs to turn into pills. If our Shenyuntian Trade Association can cultivate a pill of this quality, what else would that Jun Baoshuan Trade Association have to compete with us? The elderly man said. When Nan Yangtze heard this, he came to a realization. Sir, your foresight is brilliant. Ha ha, the elderly man laughed out. Then, should I send people to follow those three from earlier on? Nan Yangtze asked. The elderly man waved it off with his hand. No. The cultivation state of that man is higher than mine. Furthermore, he is a huge client of ours. If we were to piss off the other party, the losses would be immense. If Lin Fan had known that this elderly man had placed so much emphasis and passion toward him, he would have definitely exploded out. Cultivate your mother's pills. All of those herbs that Lin Fan had purchased were based on which ones were the cheapest or which ones had more uses. No.C. In fact, the type of pills that could be cultivated from them was something that even Lin Fan himself might not know just yet. If he didn't have the system, with his current strength, there was no way Lin Fan could cultivate out pills of this level. The elderly man could just wait to fail for now. Big bro, what are we buying so many herbs for? Chu Zanyu asked. Right now, he was thoroughly impressed with Lin Fan to every single fiber of his body. He felt that he had truly not followed the wrong person. This boss of theirs was simply way too tyrannical. Cultivate pills. Lin Fan chuckled out. For Lin Fan, those 60 million immortal crystals had no use at all. They were not even as valuable as these herbs here. Soon, they found a hotel and settled in, and Lin Fan dove right into his trade of cultivating pills straight away. Lin Fan tossed all the spirit herbs and immortal herbs within a single pot. Sizzle, boil, crackle. Pills through thought purged out all the impurities within those herbs. Ding! Congratulations on pill cultivation success. Opening the pot, a series of sparkling pills floated out within the void. Lin Fan grabbed a bunch of those pills and stuffed them into his mouth. Crunch, nom, munch. Pleasurable. Ding. Experience points plus 10 million. Ding. Experience points plus 30 million. Ding. Experience points plus 50 million. Continuous and endless, the experience points rose up in a never-ending fashion. Lin Fan could feel as though he was about to fly up into the sky right now. This feeling was simply way too pleasurable. The 60 million immortal crystals spent were simply way too worthwhile. My experience points have grown by 10%. That's pretty decent now. Lin Fan nodded his head in satisfaction. He then took the two remaining lower-grade immortal pills in his hands and opened up the door before heading over to the side of Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu. The lower-grade immortal pills that Lin Fan had cultivated were not pills that the normal lower-grade immortal pills of the Endless Mainland could compare with. The difference between the two was immense. These two pills here, both of you can have one each. Lin Fan handed over the pills to Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu. They could be considered as his little bros now. So, he naturally had to give them some benefits. When Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu caught sight of the pills before them, they let out a startled expression. Are these immortal pills? When both of them saw how there were threads of the law of the immortal Tao on the surface of the pills, they naturally knew that these were genuinely immortal pills. The two of them looked at Lin Fan in disbelief, and were so emotional that they were about to cry out right now. Big bro, you're simply way too nice to us. Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu remarked emotionally. With this immortal pill, you guys will not be able to unleash its full potential for a moment or so. Let me use it for you guys then. Lin Fan swept out his robes and deployed the source sealing technique, causing the entire room to be sealed, so as to prevent even a slight bit of aura from leaking out. If he were to unleash it for them, they would be able to break through to the true immortal state. Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu were both at immemorial ancient state upper level. Because they did not have too many martial arts mystic skills with them, leveling up to the next phase did not pose much of an issue. They sat cross-legged, filled with excitement. When an immortal pill entered one's tummy, their lives were controlled by themselves, and not by the heavens anymore. This was the mystifying effects of immortal pills. Lin Fan's powers rumbled out furiously as they were infused into the bodies of both of them. Given their current strength right now, there was no way they would be able to make use of the immortal pill completely right now. That required every single fiber and powers of theirs to strike out at the immortal pill at every single second and moment. However, with Lin Fan's help, they were able to shatter the immortal pill and turn it into a stream of boundless medicinal power. The powers then guided them along, allowing the medicinal power to cruise through their entire bodies and fill up their limbs. The aura of Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu rose up furiously as their bodies shuddered along with it as well. Their skin seemed as though it was burning with fire, flushing red all over their body. Level up. Lin Fan roared out, causing the medicinal powers to enter every single cell of the two. Immemorial ancient state, full cultivation state. Their auras were still rising. This was not the end yet. Within the inner worlds of both of them was a heaven and earth door that opened up. But, compared to Lin Fan's heaven and earth door, theirs was simply way too insignificant. A surge of powers galloped out and rammed at the heaven and earth door. Bam! With a loud bang, the heaven and earth door opened up. Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu had truly entered a true immortal state right now. The laws of the true immortal wrapped around them, which was the sign of a true immortal. Done. Without Lin Fan's help, if they both wanted to enter the true immortal state, they would have had to go a long, long way still. But, as Lin Fan's little bros, this was the type of welfare they could receive. Chapter 1014 This death is too damned bloody fast. Chapter 1014 This death is too damned bloody fast. Wide-eyed, Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu's eyes shone with deep disbelief. True immortal state. To think that they would become true immortal state beings. Excited, emotional, they truly did not know what they could use to describe their feelings right now. The fact that their big bro would help them to level up to true immortal state was something that they had never dared imagine in the first place. They had thought that having a big bro was just for self-protection or a backing. But, the favor of today had them truly so grateful that they did not know what they should say anymore. Big bro, I, Chu Zanyu, swear that I will follow you forever from now on. Even if it's against a legion of horrifying beings, I, Chu Zanyu, will definitely not cower. Due to his excitement, Chu Zanyu's fat and rotund body started jiggling all over. I, Jin Zhenggu, as well. Jin Zhenggu added on hastily, not wanting to fall behind. Ever since these two brothers had come out into the world from their village, they had never once come across someone who had treated them this nice. To think that he would even be willing to give them immortal pills. Words are always nice. When it really comes to it, who knows if the both of you will be the first to run off. Lin Fan rolled his eyes. However, he still believed them in his heart despite saying that. After all, his judgment of someone's character would never be wrong. Big bro, we could be considered as pretty powerful beings now as well. Alright, where should we head off to next? Chu Zanyu took out a luffa and chomped on it once more. Give me some time to think about that. After heading out, I truly hadn't thought of a place I should head to. However, for now, we shall just roam the city for a little while more. Who knows if there is anything more to be gained? Lin Fan replied. Ever since he had left the sect, Lin Fan only wanted to raise his strength as quickly as possible. But, after coming here, he realized that wanting to raise one's strength would also have to depend on one's luck. There were not many powerful beings out there. And even if there were, they were grouped up in clusters, or had huge backings of their own. Given their strength, they were truly not to be reckoned with. Taking that Shen Yuntian Trade Association for example, the backing behind them must be incredibly huge. If he were to offend the other party and end up being hunted down, there would definitely be some powerful being on his tail. He did not even know how strong of a foe he would meet with by then. If the opponent was way too strong, wouldn't he be dead meat? Within the city, the three of them looked around everywhere. Other than being lively, the Emperor Heaven City was still just lively. There was really nothing much else. However, Lin Fan's eyes were still darting all around. Some of the passers-by really had pretty decent cultivation states. There were many true immortal state and mystic immortal state beings. There was even a golden immortal state being roaming around. However, there were many people surrounding that golden immortal state being. Evidently, he must be someone significant from some powerful faction. After looking for a bit more, Lin Fan realized that Chu Zanyu's sights were cast at the corners of a wall. What are you doing? Lin Fan asked. Big bro, check it out. That father and son pair are so pitiful. Chu Zanyu said. As though he had recalled something, he added on, when I was young, my father would bring me around the same way. Lin Fan did not say anything much. Waving his finger, he used the spirit chi to create a pill. Let him consume this. It will help his body to recover. If we give them money, that will only cause them to die even faster. Chu Zanyu nodded his head before heading forth and having the other party consume the pill. After his health had recovered, the two were immensely grateful toward Chu Zanyu. Seemed like Chu Zanyu was also a man with a story in his past. Boom! But just at this moment, the ground quaked as the sky turned black. What happened? Jin Zhenggu exclaimed, not understanding what was going on. Lin Fan focused his gaze over. The spirit chi in a place far in the distance was berserk, contorting the entire void with it. In the next moment, a booming god thunder struck down from the sky. Even though they were quite a distance away, the might of that strike broke through everything, sending a shockwave over. Pishu, Pishu. At this moment, countless powerful beings from the Emperor Heaven City flew over. It's a three-horned god Zhao that's trying to evolve into a dragon. Some unknown person shouted out. The rumors were real. There is really a three-horned god Zhao there. Since the god Zhao is trying to evolve to a dragon, there must be countless powerful beings rushing over there to vie for it. Lin Fan got excited all of a sudden. Holy mama, three-horned god Zhao. Just the name alone was enough for them to tell how domineering that was. Big bro, are we going over? Chu Zanyu asked. Going. Of course, we're going. How can we not go? Lin Fan did not hesitate as he pulled both of them along with him into the void and rushed forth in the direction of the aura. There were countless strong auras moving up ahead as well. This troubled Lin Fan a little. If there were anything good, it would be extremely difficult for him to wrest it away from their grasps. But, no matter what, they would have to check out the situation first. Who knew if they might get lucky and obtain some sort of rewards? When Lin Fan stopped in the void, he realized that there were many powerful beings hidden in all directions as well. Right below them was the three-horned god Zhao that was fumbling about in the middle of a patch of ocean. This three-horned god Zhao had a body that was 10,000 feet long, with two horns up on its head. Those shimmering scales on its body shone with a sharp gleam as it was evolving continuously. This thing is so horrifying. Chu Zanyu gasped out. That's right. Jin Zhenggu nodded his head in agreement, finding it pretty terrifying as well. The cultivation state of this three-horned god Zhao was at mystic immortal state full cultivation level. If it were to tide through this calamity and evolve from a three-horned god Zhao to a three-horned god dragon, it would definitely become a golden immortal being. Roar! The dragon's roar shook the entire world along with the berserk aura. Some of the weaker beings were knocked back slightly as though that roar was too much for them to handle. At this moment, Lin Fan surveyed his surroundings. True immortal state, mystic immortal state, golden immortal state. To think that there were a couple of golden immortal state beings hidden within the void. At the same time, to Lin Fan's astonishment, there were a few beings from the Heaven and Earth sect in this dragon-slaying expedition. Furthermore, all of those beings were elders of the sect. Within the Heaven and Earth sect, as long as one's cultivation state reached true immortal state, they would be able to turn into an elder. Other than the remnants, the elders had the authority over all disciples in the sect. This time around, there were a total of 13 people from the Heaven and Earth sect. All of their cultivation states were at mystic immortal state, except for a single golden immortal state being. Even though the body of this three-horned god Zhao was filled with treasures, it wasn't at a point where the sects had to send their ultra-powerful beings to contest for it. Even though the three-horned god Zhao knew that there were many people hidden in the void here, it could not care more at this moment. The thunder calamity had come way too suddenly. If it could tide through this, it could turn into a legitimate god dragon, a golden immortal state god dragon which could roam around the world. By that time, even ordinary golden immortal state beings would not be a match for it. Boom! Yet another thunderbolt struck down from the sky. This thunderbolt was extremely thick, and possessed a frightening power to it. If a mystic immortal were to be struck by this thunderbolt, their skin would split apart even if they didn't die from it. At this moment, the three-horned god Zhao opened its mouth as a green inner pill was spat out of his body to help endure the thunder calamity. Crackle, boom, bam, pop. A series of cracking sounds came forth from the body of the three-horned god Zhao. N-O-V-E-N.C Ohm. It was shedding its skin right now. At the same time, those shimmering scales were dropping down continuously and being replaced with new golden scales that grew in the blink of an eye. At this moment, all of the masses that were hidden in the void were startled beyond anything else. This is the three-horned golden dragon. This is a mutation. Compared to the three-horned god dragon, this is even stronger and more valuable. ROARRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRR thunder calamity, its body dripped with drops of golden blood. Go, it's a dragon right now, and in its weakest state. Some unknown person shouted out once more. A series of torrential powers burst forth furiously that gushed out at the three-horned golden dragon. Bam! It all happened so quickly that no one had the time to react to it yet. Even Lin Fan's face was just stumped. The three-horned golden dragon before his eyes exploded, breaking into many parts. To think that it would die just like that. That was too bloody damned fast, wasn't it? Lin Fan was still thinking that he should just wait out for a bit. Who knew if he might get lucky and earn a quick buck from this? Chapter 10:15 You'd really dare to stab me? Chapter 10:15 You'd really dare to stab me? Mother *CKER. Who was the one who bloody shouted for it? Lin Fan was speechless right now. This death was way too fast, wasn't it? It was so fast that one could barely react to it. It didn't even take a single second. Or perhaps, the three-horned golden dragon did not even know how it died so quickly and in such a horrendous way as well. Split up all over, it wasn't even left with an intact corpse. At this moment, Lin Fan was not the only one who was stunned. Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu were equally stumped. This is way too cruel, isn't it? Chu Zanyu remarked with some lingering fears. Lin Fan had just reacted to it when the void started trembling out. One after another, figures bolted down and fought for everything in a frenzy, as though they had just caught sight of some treasure or something. Holy Mother CKER. Everything else aside, Lin Fan had just thoroughly given into the situation right now. This was the first time he had seen such a mad rush in vying for items. The blood of the three-horned golden dragon was still floating up in the void. But, all of those people could not care less as they rushed in and grabbed everything they saw. Haha, I've obtained the dragon's head. Hand it over. How dare you take away my dragon's head? I'll fight it out with you. I've obtained a dragon's tendon. With it, I can craft out yet another treasure. Haha, wait, holy FCK. Who was the one who has bloody snatched away my dragon's tendon? The entire scene was in a state of chaos. Initially, Lin Fan had wanted to strike out. But, looking at everything right now, there was no way he could strike at all. These people were way too inhumane. This was a complete sweep of the place. The three-horned golden dragon was way too pitiable, wasn't it? It had just tided through the calamity successfully to transform into a three-horned golden dragon, having a bright future ahead of it. But all of a sudden, there was nothing left. The next thing that awaited it was a death without a corpse. And even after dying, it could not rest in peace as these fellas here were grabbing out at every single part of its body to either craft weapons or cultivate pills with them. In fact, even that golden blood of it was being snatched by the people. Beasts. These guys were all beasts. Boom. A fight broke out. Anyone who lost out in snatching the items fought, and anyone who couldn't win in a fight ran. For all of these powerful beings, all they wanted was to earn a quick buck and get off. There were no ties to be spoken of here. Haha, I've gotten the inner pill. This is the most valuable item. Heaven and Earth sect, retreat. A young elder of the Heaven and Earth sect roared out in laughter. In his palms was a round-shaped inner pill. This inner pill was where the essence of the three-horned golden dragon belonged. Senior brother Lu has obtained the inner pill. We've also gotten some stuff for ourselves. Retreat. Don't fight for any more stuff. To think that our Heaven and Earth sect would be the one to earn the most in the end. We've really earned it big. Everyone from the Heaven and Earth sect retreated immediately. The plunder this time around was way too pleasurable. As long as they were to bring home the inner pill of the three-horned golden dragon, that would be considered as a huge merit under their name. Lu Feng, who had obtained the inner pill, roared out in endless laughter. However, the void froze up all of a sudden as a sword will was flung out. N-O-V-E in .C ohm. The inner pill does not belong to the Heaven and Earth sect. An invisible sword chi sliced out and tore through the void. There was no room for anyone to react at all. By the time Lu Feng had even realized what happened, that arm of his which was holding onto the pill was sent flying in the air as another gigantic arm from the void grabbed it. Haha, not bad, not bad. At this moment, a man stood there laughing out loudly. Waving the pill in his hands right now, he let out a gleeful look. Damn it, when Lu Feng caught sight of who it was, his face changed as his heart burned with a fiery rage. The place where his arm was severed from was bleeding non-stop right now. He consumed a single pill which caused the powers within his body to rumble out. With that, his broken arm was regrown. However, it consumed a large amount of power. Broken Heaven sect, Qing Liantian. Lu Feng gritted his teeth and snarled at the person up ahead. Senior brother Lu, are you alright? Some of the disciples who had retreated looked over at the disciples of the Broken Heaven sect up ahead warily. They hadn't expected that the Broken Heaven sect would strike out to snatch over the inner pill forcefully. Lu Feng, you don't have to glare at me like that. All of these things are dependent on one's abilities. Both of us are golden immortal state lower level beings. I'm not bullying anyone by doing this. Qing Liantian laughed out. This inner pill, I'm keeping it then. Lu Feng stared at Qing Liantian before him with a burning wrath in his heart. However, there was nothing he could do. Everyone else surrounding them had obtained what they wanted and had retreated off. Some of them had just bolted off from the start. After all, this place was overly dangerous, and it was better for them to not linger here. Heaven and Earth sect and Broken Heaven sect were both amongst the 9 major sects. Some of the people around knew that these guys were not to be trifled with, and did not wish to get involved with this mess. Lu Feng, honestly, what's with that expression you're looking at me with? Are you indignant? However, I can give you a chance though. Let us fight it out. If you win, you can have this inner pill. But, if you were to lose. After his sneak attack had succeeded, Qing Liantian was naturally excited beyond anything else right now. All of a sudden, do you really think that the Heaven and Earth sect members are pushovers? Pishu, a single straight line streaked through the Heaven and Earth as an aura erupted forth. Qing Liantian was startled. He clearly hadn't caught sight of the other party's figure. Yet, that edged aura was already pressing close to him. Lu Feng was alarmed, not knowing what was going on as well. My sword. At this moment, one of the Heaven and Earth sect elders exclaimed out. The lower grade utmost treasure in his hands had suddenly darted out towards Qing Liantian. What's this? Lu Feng was taken aback. At this moment, a figure bolted out in a flash and appeared right beside Qing Liantian. You. Qing Liantian was startled. All of a sudden, he found himself being caged up by an extremely sharp sword will. It was as though he was living in an endless sword will right now. The pressure exerted onto Qing Liantian by this sword will was immense, something he had never experienced before. Lin Fan's lips curled into a cold grin. In the next instant, his figure had disappeared as though he had never once appeared before. Golden Immortal State lower level. While other people might not be able to skip through levels, it was extremely simple for Lin Fan. Everything had happened so quickly that even everyone present could not make out clearly what was going on. Lin Fan had already appeared before the masses of the Heaven and Earth sect while tossing the inner pill that was now in his hands over to the dumbstruck Lu Feng. He returned the sword as well. And you are? Lu Feng was astonished. He did not know what was happening right now. Lin Fan took out his token, causing Lu Feng to be stunned. You are remnant Lin Fan. Be starred. How dare you snatch my inner pill? At this moment, Qing Liantian had still not figured out what was going on as he roared out toward Lin Fan. Haha, Qing Liantian, this inner pill is no longer yours. It was snatched back by my junior brother Lin. Lu Feng said. Courting death, Qing Liantian was enraged now as he took a step forth. But, this single step forth had him absolutely horrified. In fact, he wasn't the only astounded one. Even Lu Feng and the others were just completely flabbergasted right now as though they had just seen a ghost. Thud, both his legs fell off. At the same time, both of his arms were severed. He had turned into a human rod completely. Since you had dared to sever an arm of someone from my sect, I shall sever 4 of your limbs. This is quite the reasonable deal. Lin Fan chuckled out. However, he was secretly hating it in his heart. If only he could kill this guy, how nice would that be? I'm going to kill you. Qing Liantian bellowed out as he churned his powers, regrowing all 4 of his limbs. Haha, Qing Liantian, that's just retribution. You should be thankful that my junior brother Lin did not kill you. Lu Feng roared out in laughter. Lin Fan, who was still in the midst of regretting, suddenly froze up when he heard those words. What did you just say? Lin Fan asked. Lu Feng was stunned. What? Retribution? No, not that. The line after. Thankful that you did not kill him. Yes, that line. What would happen if I were to kill him? Lin Fan asked. Lu Feng blinked his eyes. Nothing. If you kill him, then so be it. The only thing would be to watch out for the other side taking revenge in the future. I will not bring any trouble for the sect. Lin Fan had suddenly realized that there was a huge problem to this. Nopes. After all, they can only blame themselves for their lack of skills. They can't force the grudge on anyone. Before Lu Feng was even done with his words, he had suddenly realized that Lin Fan's figure was gone. My sword. The elder who had lost his weapon earlier on exclaimed out once more. But, by the time everyone had come to their senses once more, they saw something horrifying happening up ahead. Thud, thud, Lin Fan took the longsword and stabbed it straight into Qing Liantian's body violently. Qing Liantian, who was in the middle of his mad rage, stared up ahead at the person who was stabbing him with a blank expression as he spoke up in disbelief. You, really dared, stab me? Lu Feng was confounded as well. Did junior brother Lin really just stab Qing Liantian to death? Lin Fan was completely in ecstasy right now. Initially, he did not want to cause any trouble for the sect. But, after hearing the words of Lu Feng, what was there to be afraid of? The one thing he was least afraid of in this lifetime was revenge. No matter how many people were to come at him, he would chop them all down. The best would be for them to come together, so that he could chop all of them to death. Ding! Congratulations on killing Golden Immortal lower level powerful being. Ding! Experience points plus. Lin Fan was truly elated right now. This feeling was way too awesome. Suddenly, Lin Fan cast his sight over at those disciples from the Broken Heaven sect. When the disciples realized that Lin Fan was looking at them, they were all so scared that their limbs were breaking out into shivers. They had not expected that senior brother Qing Liantian would be stabbed to death by the other party. Lin Fan frowned. All of them were trash, and did not have much experience points to give. Even if he were to chop them up, it would be a waste of time. He might as well save the effort. Leave all of your things behind and scram. The disciples of the Broken Heaven sect left their belongings behind immediately and ran off with frightfully pale faces like the wind. Chapter 10:16 Breaking News. Chapter 10:16 Breaking News. The disciples of the Heaven and Earth sect were all gobsmacked while Lu Feng could only gulp down his saliva with a look of horror shining in his eyes. Stabbed to death. He was really stabbed to death. Wasn't junior brother Lin way too violent? He had gone to stab the other party to death just like that without even hesitating. At this moment, Lin Fan was extremely pleased. He had stabbed yet another golden immortal being to death. Only, this golden immortal was somewhat weak, and his cultivation was too low, resulting in some mediocre experience points gained. Here, your sword. Lin Fan flung his arm and that utmost treasure sword flew back to that disciple of the Heaven and Earth sect with a pshew sound. When the disciple gripped onto that sword, he felt his heart shuddering in fear, to think that this sword of mine would have stabbed a golden immortal to death. Looking at the drop of fresh blood that was staining his sword, that disciple felt his heart jerking intensely. This precious sword of his had actually stabbed a golden immortal to death. In the future, he could name it as a golden immortal slaying sword. Furthermore, there were so many people here who had witnessed it. After returning, he must definitely give this precious sword of his a domineering name. Junior brother Lin. No, senior brother Lin. Lu Feng was just dazed right now. He felt that it was evidently not too appropriate to refer to Lin Fan as a junior brother anymore. The fact that senior brother Lin was able to slay Qing Liantian in the blink of an eye was a testament to that heaven-revolting strength of his. If he were to continue referring to him as junior brother, that would not be right. Junior brother Lu, it's all thanks to you this time around. If not for those words of yours, I might not have been able to think things through so properly. Lin Fan chuckled out. He was in a joyous mood right now. Ever since he had joined a sect, Lin Fan had been troubled by it. He did not know if any trouble would ensue over him killing the disciples of other sects. It wasn't that he was afraid of creating trouble, but he just didn't want to implicate the sect along with it. But, with the words of Lu Feng just now, Lin Fan had a clear idea about things. Evidently, if one was unhappy, he could just FCK them up then, chopping them up without any room for discussion. And, even if one were chopped up, they could only blame it on their lack of skills. Whether or not the other sect would come harassing him would all depend on luck by then. But, as for attracting trouble and whatnot, Lin Fan was not afraid of that in the least bit. The more trouble there was, the better. The best thing was for them to come at him relentlessly just like locusts, so that Lin Fan could chop down as he wished. When Lu Feng heard the words of senior brother Lin, his heart was taken aback. He clearly did not understand what senior brother Lin had just said. Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu came up ahead with a look of astonishment. Big bro. You're just too amazing. Lin Fan smiled out calmly, not letting it get to his head. Small issues. All of these were small issues. The strength of that Qing Liantian was simply too weak. Since he had dared to bully someone of my sect, didn't he deserve death? Lin Fan remarked. Yes, senior brother Lin, you are absolutely right. If not for you today, senior brother Lin, that trash of a Qing Liantian would have trampled all over our heads. Lu Feng replied. Just someone like him, he's far from qualified, Lin Fan said. Senior brother, where are you headed off to later? Will you be returning to the sect with us? Lu Feng asked. He had witnessed the grand competition back in the sect personally. And right now, it had just been a short period of time without seeing senior brother Lin. But, who would have thought that he would be strong to such an extent? This was more horrifying than anything could be. If this were before, Lin Fan would have wanted to head back and take a look. But right now, since he could FCK over anyone without being worried about any form of trouble, what reason was there for him to head back? Naturally, he would just stay out and FCK people over up and down. Returning to the sect would just be a waste of time, wouldn't it? I'm not heading back. You guys can return first. Lin Fan replied. Lu Feng nodded his head. We will take our leave first, senior brother Lin. Lin Fan nodded his head slightly in acknowledgement. After Lu Feng and the others had left, he let out an absolutely pleasured smile on his face before turning over to Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu. Our battle has only just begun. We have a goal now, so things might get a little more tiring in the future. Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu realized that their big bro's battle intent was extremely high-strung right now. With that, even they felt excited. We will follow our big bro's footsteps forever. Alright, right now, Lin Fan was filled with vigor as though the entire world was waiting with its arms wide open for him. A few days later, Heaven and Earth sect. Lu Feng and the others headed back before reporting the affair over to the higher echelons of the sect. When they heard of the news, their faces were confounded. What? Remnant Lin Fan had stabbed the golden immortal state Qing Liantian of the Broken Heaven sect to death. Not only that, he had done so with ease such that the other party could not even retaliate at all. This was way too unreal, wasn't it? Qing Yangxi was living a comfortable life right now. Ever since he had brought Lin Fan back into the sect, his keen judgment had gotten the recognition it should. With that, he led carefree and happy days. He was prepared to head out and roam more in a couple of days' time. He would head over to more cities and see if there were any more disciples with an exceptional innate potential. No. However, the fact that he could seek out a supreme paragon of a disciple such as Lin Fan for the sect was something he could brag about for his entire life now. Elder, something big has happened. Something massive. Li Qing rushed in from outside hurriedly. Qing Yangxi's face straightened up. What are you looking all flustered for? Tell me what's the matter about. Li Qing took up the teapot from the table and poured the tea down his throat to soothe it before speaking up anxiously. Senior brother Lin, when he heard that it was about the proudest person of his life, Qing Yangxi grew concerned. What's with him? Speak up, will you? Senior brother Lu Feng has just headed back from outside, bringing a piece of news with him. Senior brother Lin has slain Qing Liantian of Breaking Heaven sect. Li Qing said. Slain a disciple of another sect? That lad is really restless indeed. Qing Yangxi chuckled out, not really bothered with the issue at all. He then continued, look at the state you've gotten yourself into. Didn't he just kill a disciple of the Breaking Heaven sect, that's all? How could one grow up without knowing of bloodshed? Li Qing was flustered still. It's not that. Qing Liantian was of golden immortal cultivation state. Oh, golden immortal. Huh, what did you say? Repeat that. Qing Yangxi had not reacted to it at the start. But, by the time he had come to his senses, his face was absolutely dumbfounded. That Qing Liantian is a golden immortal being of the Breaking Heaven sect. Senior brother Lin had used a sword to just stab the Qing Liantian to death. Li Qing spoke out in astonishment. When he had first heard of the news, he thought that he must have misheard everything. But, with so many witnesses, there was really no mistake about it. Qing Yangxi had just poured a mouthful of tea into his mouth when he spat out everything furiously after hearing it. His eyes were wide open as he asked, You're not kidding me, right? No, it's all true. It has been spread throughout the entire sect by now. Whether or not you believe it, all you have to do is head out to find out, Elder. Li Qing replied. Holy FCK, just how in the world did that lad cultivate? He had just left the sect for a couple of days. How come he already has the capabilities to slay a golden immortal state being? Qing Yangxi could not even sit down any longer as he stood up and headed outside. He had to go clarify things for a little. Was this piece of news really real or not? If it were real, then it was truly extremely explosive. That lad was truly the unrivaled and unparalleled #1 genius of the entire world with no equal. That Lai Qingtian, that Qin Shengjian, they were all dog's tea in the face of him. They had better scram as far as they could. Comparing them to this person that he had chosen was simply comparing an adult with a child. No, there wasn't even any way to compare at all. Chapter 10:17 We're on the same side, let's not fight. Chapter 10:17 We're on the same side, let's not fight. Big bro, where are we at now? Chu Zanyu asked. For the past few days, they had been rushing on the road endlessly, and were really far from the Emperor Heaven City right now. This aimless searching had them not knowing just where the end of this would be. There's no hurry, there should be some around. I refuse to believe that we can't bump into any. Lin Fan said. This endless mainland was simply way too huge. Even after traveling for so many days, they hadn't caught sight of a single figure. There are people up ahead. Jin Zhenggu's eyes were the sharpest as he spotted a group of people up ahead. Lin Fan leapt with joy momentarily before looking over. Those guys look a little sinister. They seem to be people from a demon sect. I know them. They are people from the Connate demon residence. Chu Zanyu said. How do you know? Lin Fan asked skeptically. I've met people from the Connate demon residence before. Their attires were all the same. Those beings from the Connate demon residence are extremely scary, and have vicious methods. Whoever lands in their hands would suffer a fate worse than death. Chu Zanyu replied. Lin Fan did have some inkling about the Connate demon residence. They were a strong sect within the Endless Mainland after all. 9 sects, 6 residences, 3 caves, and 72 gangs. This was the distribution of the famous factions in the Endless Mainland. The leaders of these factions had a strength that was practically the epitome of horror. While Lin Fan did not know what they were doing, he knew that they would not have gathered here if there wasn't anything significant. Pishu. At this moment, another few figures appeared from the boundaries of the sky. These few figures had a demonic chi that surged right into the sky. Even though they were not of the Connate demon residence, the people from the Connate demon residence did not have any conflict with the other party at all. The next few words were heard clearly by Lin Fan. Today, we are here to pay respects to the old selfless demon ancestor. If there are any grudges of hatred, please let it go for now. N-O-V-E in .c om. If it were any other type of situation, Lin Fan would not have minded. But, those words really stuck in his mind. Seemed like there would be benefits to be reaped here. Lin Fan started thinking about what he should do so that he could mix in with that bunch of fellas. At this moment, his gaze was cast toward Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu. The both of them froze for a moment as they felt some slight nervousness in their hearts. Old bro, why are you looking at us like that? Lin Fan revealed a brilliant smile. However, that smile was ever so horrifying in the eyes of Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu. Pishu. The ripple of activity attracted the attention of the masses. Who's there? I am here to pay respects to the old selfless demon ancestor. At this moment, Lin Fan came forth from the void. As he wielded a long spear in his hands, Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu were seen pierced through it. Right now, Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu were feeling extremely pained in their hearts. They felt that this big bro they had acknowledged was too darned vicious. Each time, he would use them as bait. These guys were all from demon sects. They did not have much of a suspicion towards Lin Fan's arrival. The selfless demon ancestor was their mentor. Even though he had already fallen, a figure would always appear in their dreams. Teaching them many strong mystic skills of the martial arts, this figure referred to himself as the selfless demon ancestor. Later on, in order to gain more benefits out of it, these people would head here every year to pay respects to the selfless demon ancestor. And, the main reason for that was that each time they came to pay respects, they would enter a cunning space. Within that space were many treasures that existed, and each time they came out of it, they would return with bountiful rewards. Who are these two? A grim-looking elderly man looked at Lin Fan warily. Lin Fan chuckled out, these two fellas are remnants of the Heaven and Earth sect. The moment they saw that I was a demon, they started claiming things like purging demons to maintain righteousness. Hearing that, I just killed them casually. The remnants token was still hanging on Chu Zanyu's body. In the Endless Mainland, the Heaven and Earth sect was a huge sect. Therefore, it was only natural that everyone knew of the remnants token. Holy FCK, brother, you're a little domineering, aren't you? To think that you would dare to kill remnants of the Heaven and Earth sect. And 2 of them at that. Haha, purging demons to maintain righteousness. All of those sects are big on their words. If they want to purge us, that will have to depend on whether they have the capabilities to do so. So, you're one of us. I've suffered some losses in the hands of disciples of the Heaven and Earth sect in the past as well. This could be considered as taking some revenge for me there, brother. Since we have all received grace from the selfless demon ancestor, we're all on the same side. Lin Fan chuckled out, that's for sure. I made sure to keep these 2 fellas alive so that I can turn them into my puppets later on and have them spy for me in the Heaven and Earth sect. How do I address you, brother? To think that you would have such ambitions. That is truly admirable indeed. Lin Fan smiled out. He was about to reply when the air around them, which initially had no signs of activity, started to tremble all of a sudden. The selfless demon ancestor has already opened up the space. Let us head in then. At this moment, the masses were not focused on Lin Fan as their bodies emitted a cunning sort of aura. This aura seemed to bear a connection with the void as they queued up to enter one after another. When Lin Fan caught sight of everything up ahead, he was stunned. Holy FCK, to think that there would be such methods required to enter this place. Your father didn't have this capability. Looking at them entering one after another, Lin Fan was starting to get a little flustered. After that, he just stood behind somebody. The person in front of Lin Fan turned around and looked at him before revealing a smile. Brother, after we come out later on, how about making friends with one another? The man asked. Lin Fan chuckled out, sure. No problem, those who roam the world are all brothers. The man was slightly taken aback as though he had not expected such words to come from Lin Fan. He then broke out into a laugh, all right. How about you go first, brother? Lin Fan waved it off with his hand immediately, no. You should go first, I'll cover the back. All right then, the man smiled before turning his head to the front again. Lin Fan looked at how he was the only one left now. Just as the man was about to head in, Lin Fan knocked him out with the brick before releasing Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu immediately. Big bro, even though we've popped those pills, it still hurt a lot. Chu Zanyu complained. Alright, let's cut the crap here. Hurry up and take action. Lin Fan said before searching the body of the other party. If he could not find anything on the body of this fella, he would just purify him later on to see if there were any tricks to it. At this moment, Lin Fan discovered a black ball-like object in the storage ring of the other party. This spherical ball was only the size of a fist, and yet, there was quite a bit of dark aura hidden within. This aura had a strong connection with the reverberations in the void here. It was as though one could only enter if they held on to this object. Lin Fan hoisted the fella up and tossed him straight toward the tremors of the void. SHRRRRK. In the next instant, something that stunned Lin Fan occurred. To think that the man would have been minced into pieces. Horrifying. This was too bloody horrifying. At this moment, Lin Fan already understood things clearly. If he wanted to enter, he would have to depend on this thing here. However, there was only one of this thing here. Chu Zanyu and Jin Zhenggu would definitely not be able to enter. Therefore, it seemed like he was the only one who would be entering. The two of you, listen up. Use the heaven and earth net to seal up the entrance and wait for them to fall into the trap. Lin Fan said. Big bro, rest assured. You can keep your heart at ease when we are put to the task. Camping for food is such as something that we are most skilled at. Chu Zanyu said. Lin Fan nodded his head in satisfaction. This was called not letting even a single one off. Thereafter, Lin Fan strode right into the tremors of the void without any hesitation as his figure gradually disappeared from the face of the world. Chapter 1018 Selfless Demon Ancestor. Chapter 1018 Selfless Demon Ancestor. When Lin Fan opened his eyes, the sight that was imprinted into his mind was a brand new world. The skies were glorious, with endlessly interlinked mountains before him. Incredible. For someone to be able to craft out such a world with just their own powers showed their outrageous capabilities. At this moment, in the void up ahead were countless of figures flying in a single direction. Naturally, Lin Fan was not one to fall behind as he chased after them immediately. Sensing around his surroundings, he found no traces of life nearby. However, there was an aura that Lin Fan was familiar with. Buddhist nature. Exactly, it was Buddhist nature. Not only that, this Buddhist nature was far from normal. Limitless and boundless, it suppressed down on all demons. Lin Fan caught sight of those fellas stopping at a mountain that was so high that its peak extended into the clouds. He then landed on the ground curiously, not knowing what was going on right now. This mountain before him was flushed gold all over, and there were a series of charms that flowed around it. Those charms exuded forth a brilliance as well as an ancient aura. This was a really vicissitudinous and old aura. At this moment, all of those fellas took out that black ball and tossed it up into the void. Paying respects to the selfless demon ancestor. As though those black balls were drawn in by some magnetic force, all of them were sucked in toward the golden mountain. Instantly, they melded into the ripples of energy, causing even more ripple circles to extend out from the peak of the mountain. Just what in the world was this selfless demon ancestor? Ever since Lin Fan had entered this place, he had a strange feeling about it. However, he first had to check out just what sort of a situation this was, and whether there were any benefits for him to obtain. And just as Lin Fan was contemplating about these things, an aura burst forth from the mountain. Countless treasures gushed out into the sky before being sent flying in all directions. Snatch. When the masses caught sight of this, they were totally excited. Without saying anything more, all of them flew out in all directions as well. When Lin Fan caught sight of those treasures, he he pretty much had no interest in them. N-O-V-L-B in .c ohm. Utmost treasures and pills. Those playthings were truly not enough to pique Lin Fan's interest at all. They were nothing more than ordinary stuff to him. But for those fellas, these were treasures amongst treasures. After the masses dispersed, Lin Fan checked out the Golden Mountain ever more closely. Looking left and right, he could not make out anything different about it. Lin Fan streaked into the sky and looked down on it. But instead, he caught sight of several huge words that were imprinted onto the group of mountains. Suppress all demons. These 3 words seemed as though they had been carved out by someone onto these mountain ranges. At the same time, they emitted a frightening aura. Even though Lin Fan had no idea how long these had existed for, the might produced by these 3 words alone showed just how extraordinary they were. At the same time, those 3 words possessed an extremely strong Buddhist nature. Compared to the mystic skills of the Buddha race that Lin Fan had once cultivated before, they were even more intense. The one who had written these 3 words must have been a powerful being for sure. And, it was definitely not a powerful being that Lin Fan could even begin to imagine. Heading forth, Lin Fan used his hands to touch it ever so slightly. As he did that, the Buddhist nature that he had cultivated within his body seemed to be drawn in by something as it began to channel and churn. Ding! Discovered Boundless Future Buddha Lord Seal. When Lin Fan heard the notification of the system, his expression changed slightly. Who in the world was this boundless future Buddha Lord? And his name sounded a little too domineering, didn't it? To think that just coming to this place casually would allow him to bump into such a thing. He was truly a tyrannical existence in this world. However, there was something that bothered him still. Just who in the world was the one who was suppressed here then? Selfless Demon Ancestor. This was a title that didn't sound like much. Who knew if he were really dead? Why are you not heading forth to look for those treasures? At this moment, a demonic voice made its way into Lin Fan's ears. There was a demonic nature to this voice as though it was drawing in Lin Fan's heart. Ding! Discovered external power. Suppressing it. The notification from the system came again. This power that had infiltrated its way into Lin Fan's body was suppressed immediately. If not for the system, Lin Fan might have just been bewitched by this. An alarmed voice traveled over as though the other party had not expected that this lad would be able to purge out his power. At this moment, Lin Fan came back to his senses instantly. Holy FCK, who in the bloody world are you? To think that you would dare try controlling me. Are you bloody trying to look for death? Lin Fan cursed out straight away. At the same time, he felt some lingering fears in his heart. If not for the system, wouldn't your daddy be dead here? All of a sudden, silence ensued in the void without even a single peep. Are you the selfless demon ancestor? Lin Fan asked. To think that you would bear such capabilities to be able to break out from the great selfless Tao of your ancestor. The selfless demon ancestor finally spoke up. Hue, that's only natural. Why don't you take a look at just who I am? If I don't even have such capabilities, how else would I make my mark in the world? Lin Fan replied in disdain. He then gazed up and down to check out the entire place again. For him entering this place this time around, he must definitely get some benefits out of it. If he didn't, this would be a wasted trip, wouldn't it? However, even after circling around for a while, Lin Fan was left somewhat disappointed. Even though this entire mountain was plated with gold, there was truly nothing good around it. This was truly poverty of a horrifying level. At this moment, Lin Fan kept silent for a bit as though he had just thought up of a good plan. Are you being sealed up? Lin Fan asked. That's right. Your ancestor has been sealed here by the boundless future Buddha Lord for dozens of thousands of years now. The selfless demon ancestor replied. Dozens of thousands of years. That's quite long, isn't it? Just who in the world is this boundless future Buddha Lord? Why did he want to seal you? Lin Fan asked out curiously, trying to open up a conversation topic to discuss with the selfless demon ancestor. HMPH. This boundless future Buddha Lord is simply way too despicable. In order to expand his followers, he had forcefully purified commoners. As the selfless demon ancestor, I could not stand by idly and watch him continue with his misdoings. Therefore, I stood out and defended those commoners. But, who would have thought that the boundless future Buddha Lord would sneak an attack on your ancestor and cause me to be suppressed here? The selfless demon ancestor spoke up with a tone of wrath as though he could not wait to kill the boundless future Buddha Lord. Such a huge vendetta, After being sealed here for dozens of thousands of years, that must be quite a miserable thing, huh? Lin Fan shook his head saying. I'm long used to it. Your ancestor has been working hard day and night to try and get out of this place as soon as possible, all for the sake of revenge. However, the powers of the boundless future Buddha Lord are way too thick, as he even made use of the Buddha race's fortune to add on to the seal. If I want to break through it, it would be more difficult than anything else. The selfless demon ancestor replied. In his tone was a sullen mood as though he did not bear much hope to it. Highs, Senior, the fact that you have such a heart is something that your junior here is thoroughly impressed with. If I have the capabilities to do so, I will definitely rescue you out, Senior. Lin Fan sighed out while lamenting over how he did not have the ability to do so. Haha, the fact that you bear that thought is something that your ancestor is already pleased to hear about. However, when I tested you out slightly earlier on, I noticed that you possess the power of the Buddha race within your body. Could you have cultivated any mystic skills of the Buddha race in the past? The selfless demon ancestor asked. I've cultivated a few mystic skills of the Buddha race. One of them was a purification technique while the other allows one to slay through all 3 lifetimes of reincarnation. Lin Fan replied. He wanted to see just what this old demon was up to. If there were any benefits, he could try to reap in quite a bit. Even though he was just treading dangerously close to a tiger right now, he knew that if he kept his mental state guarded, he would not be tricked. Upon hearing about those mystic skills, the selfless demon ancestor was pretty interested. Even though you have only cultivated 2 mystic skills of the Buddha race, the intrinsic Buddhist nature in your body is extremely thick. If you were to continue focusing on this path, there might be some huge breakthrough for you probably. Your ancestor here has a mystic skill of the Buddha race that I can gift to you. The moment Lin Fan heard this, he was startled. You're going to be nice. Haha, your ancestor has long been used to being locked up here. If I meet any juniors who have a bright future ahead of them, I would naturally render my hand of assistance. Perhaps, if you become a powerful being someday, you might be able to release your ancestor from this captivity. That would be your ancestor's fortune by then. The selfless demon ancestor chuckled out. Chapter 1019 It's still not enough. Chapter 1019, It's still not enough. When Lin Fan heard those words of the selfless demon ancestor, he was so touched that he was about to cry. He then remarked with an exaggerated expression. Senior, even though you have been sealed here for dozens of thousands of years, you did not give up on yourself. Not only that, you are even doing your best to help us juniors. For that, your junior here couldn't be any more grateful. If I were to become a powerful being out in the world someday, no matter what, I will definitely rescue you out, Senior. At the same time, I will head with you to seek out that boundless future Buddha Lord, Senior. Good, your ancestor has truly not made the wrong judgment on you. This is a mystic skill of the Buddha race, something that the boundless future Buddha Lord had once cultivated himself. Within the Buddha race, this is rank number 1. If you are to cultivate this to its maximum extent, you can turn into the infinite Buddha ancestor and suppress the entire world. The selfless demon ancestor said before a jade bamboo scroll flew out of the mountain range, landing before Lin Fan. Lin Fan held the jade bamboo scroll in his hands. Ding! Discovered counterfeit product. Unable to cultivate. Mother ** C King Hell. Even if you were to give me a counterfeit product, your daddy would have to give it to you. But bloody hell, a counterfeit that couldn't even be used to cultivate. What the FCK do you want? Trying to FCK the heavens. Lin Fan cussed out in his heart. However, his expression was still grateful as ever. He then let out a face as though he had just received an utmost treasure and could not wait to unroll that jade bamboo scroll, wanting to learn the supreme mystic skill within. However, his face changed slightly after. How could this be? Senior, your junior here is unable to cultivate it. Lin Fan raised his head while saying. Ha ha ha, don't get anxious now, that is the number 1 mystic skill in the Buddha race after all. It isn't something that is so easily cultivated. To cultivate this mystic skill, you are required to possess the spirit of the Buddha race. As for that spirit of the Buddha race, that is something that only the boundless future Buddha Lord has. However, your ancestor here has a pill that can allow the future generations to possess their own spirit of Buddha race. Now, this spirit of Buddha race is something that's far from ordinary. Not only can you start cultivating this number 1 mystic skill of the Buddha race, it will raise your level of comprehension by an infinite degree. From this point forth, there shall be no mystic skills in this world that can pose any trouble to you. The selfless demon ancestor chuckled out as a pill floated out of the mountain range. It emitted an extremely dense Buddhist light. There were even groups of Buddhas chanting out scriptures within the Buddha light, looking as though this was the Buddha race coming home. My thanks, Senior. Lin Fan let out a look of extreme glee as he held the pill in his hands. Ding! Discovered Selfless Heaven Demon Pill. Selfless Heaven Demon Pill. Using the essence blood of the selfless demon ancestor as a lure, after consumption, one shall be controlled by the selfless demon ancestor. After consumption, one can gain 50 million experience points. Lin Fan was just helpless in his heart right now. Couldn't there be some form of trust and credibility between beings anymore? Were all powerful beings with some age to them so crafty and cunning? If not for his system, who knew how many times he would have been scammed by others by now? Bloody hell, this was truly no good thing. This bloody selfless demon ancestor totally deserved to be suppressed here. But, since he had started the act, he must go through with it to the end. Lin Fan wanted to see just what else this selfless demon ancestor could do. However, those 50 million experience points were pretty decent indeed. Pleasurable. As long as you consume this pill, you will be able to cultivate that supreme mystic skill of the Buddha race. The selfless demon ancestor said. Lin Fan looked at the selfless demon ancestor with his tears about to flow out right now. Senior. Your grace and mercy to me is something that this junior will remember for the rest of his life. To think that you would even give me a pill of this sort. This junior doesn't even know what else to say anymore. The selfless demon ancestor laughed out softly. Consume it then. If you cultivate here, no one will disturb you. It's all because your ancestor can tell that you have a resolute and firm heart along with an innocent and pure nature. If it were any vile and evildoing junior, your ancestor would not bother with him at all. Lin Fan nodded his head. He wasn't going to talk anymore and just pop it down. Since this guy has already said it as such, what else was there to even talk about? As he consumed that demon pill into his belly, Lin Fan's life was still his and not anyone else's. Crunch, chomp, munch. Fragrant and aromatic. Ding. Experience points plus 50 million. When the selfless demon ancestor saw how that lad had consumed the pill, he could not help but roar out in laughter. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Senior, what are you laughing about? Lin Fan blinked his eyes and asked out. Cough, cough. All of a sudden, the selfless demon ancestor started coughing as though he had just discovered something absolutely outrageous. His voice was even filled with some astonishment. Don't you feel anything? The selfless demon ancestor asked. Lin Fan shook his head. Not really. I just feel my stomach being a little warm right now. The selfless demon ancestor was taken aback as though he could not come to terms with it. Stomach a little warm? That couldn't be right. At this moment, Lin Fan took up the jade bamboo scroll and took a look once more before showing a dismal face. Senior. I still don't get it. The selfless demon ancestor was startled. This couldn't be. That was a pill cultivated using his life's essence blood. How could it fail? Right. It must be because the medicinal power wasn't strong enough. The essence blood was where his source was at. Expending that single drop meant that he had lost 100 years of his powers. Little fella, don't worry now. I think that pill didn't have enough medicinal powers to it. Your ancestor has another pill here. The selfless demon ancestor said. Senior, how could that do? I've already wasted one of your pills earlier on. Lin Fan let out an embarrassed expression while saying that. He then started mumbling to himself. Sigh. Seems like it's also a crime to have an innate potential that's way too superb at times. For anyone else, one pill might have been enough. But for me, it's far from enough. When the selfless demon ancestor heard these words, he felt his heart skip a beat. Through the seal, he then took a closer look. Yet, he discovered that he could not even tell of this lad's innate potential. At this moment, the selfless demon ancestor was starting to get excited. Gritting his teeth, he brought out yet another drop of essence blood and infused it into the pill. Pishu, this is another pill. Consume this instead. Even though the selfless demon ancestor was slightly pained in his heart, he felt that everything was all worth it right now. Using his consciousness to penetrate through the void, he had been entering the dreams of the demon sect disciples through their 7 emotions and 6 worldly desires to impart mystic skills to them. As long as they were to use those mystic skills imparted by him to kill their enemies, it would then turn their opponent's essence, spirit and vitality into an essence pill. After a year, they would use that to pay respects to him. This was an affair that had lasted for many years now. With that, the selfless demon ancestor's cultivation state had been recovering gradually as well. As long as it were to reach a certain degree, he could then abandon this physical body of his and deploy an unrivaled mystic skill to break through the seal and achieve reincarnation. By then, he would be able to come up with a plan to break through this seal and retrieve his physical body from it. This time around, it was already supposed to be the most fortuitous time for him to do so. But, discovering an abnormality such as Lin Fan had the selfless demon ancestor feeling additionally intrigued. The fact that he had found this abnormality with such a high innate potential caused his mind to whirl with plans. If this were truly high enough, he could abandon that selfless demon body of his. Lin Fan took the pill in his hands and popped it down with satisfaction. Ding! Experience points plus 50 million. Holy FCK, this was so darned pleasurable. How is it? The selfless demon ancestor asked once more. I still don't get it. Lin Fan raised his head while crying out. How could this be? The selfless demon ancestor was dumbfounded right now. Just what in the world was up with this guy? How could nothing be working now that he had already taken 2 pills into his tummy? This couldn't be. It just didn't make any sense. Senior, I've already told you, my innate potential is special. These pills just aren't enough. Lin Fan said. Don't worry, I've got more here. The selfless demon ancestor refused to believe that this wouldn't work as he spat out yet another mouthful of essence blood and began fusing. Even though Lin Fan's face was exasperated, his heart was filled with happiness like a blossoming flower. This was a Mother Sea King brain-dead FCK. The strength of this demon ancestor was outrageous indeed. Just his essence blood alone could raise Lin Fan's experience points by this much. This was even more tyrannical than immortal pills. Again, the selfless demon ancestor spoke up. Alright, Chapter 1020, Chapter 1020, Playing with the Blade in Front of Lord Guan. The selfless demon ancestor watched Lin Fan with a look of anticipation. Just what in the world was this lad? Are you having any feelings right now? The selfless demon ancestor spoke up and asked. If this still did not work, he would truly feel like puking blood right now. Lin Fan blinked his eye and looked left and right. Senior, I'm still not feeling anything. How about let's forget it? No, your ancestor must ensure that you get to learn this #1 mystic skill of the Buddha race. The selfless demon ancestor was nearly shouting out right now. There wasn't any use even after wasting so much essence blood. How could this be? Right now, the selfless demon ancestor was just like an avid gambler. He had already lost so much now. If it were to still not work, wouldn't all his effort from earlier on have been wasted? But senior, all of these pills aren't working at all. Could your pills have expired? Lin Fan asked with a skeptical expression. However, he was roaring out with laughter in his heart. This was a Mother Sea King brain-dead FCK. Indeed, one must never ever be sealed man. This was especially the case after being sealed for dozens of thousands of years. Gosh, one's brain would just go retarded. The selfless demon ancestor who was being sealed in this endless abyss was truly in disbelief right now. He then fused in yet another 10 drops of essence blood. This was the power that he had slowly gathered again after all these years. Initially, he was waiting for the opportunity to break through this seal. But eventually, he found out that this seal was far from ordinary. Unless he was in his pinnacle state, there was practically no chance of him being able to break out. But, from the state where he was right now, how long would it take before he reached back to his pinnacle state again? 1,000,000 years, 10 million years, he couldn't wait any longer. He had to take a shortcut and search for a heaven-revolting vessel so that he could abandon this selfless demon body of his. And now that the perfect vessel had appeared before his eyes, how could he give up on it just like that? A super pill floated out from within the sealed mountain, way more tyrannical than those pills from earlier on. He was going big this time around for sure. This fellow was playing with his life. Even Lin Fan was stumped at this moment. Senior, you've got to hold back a little. Your junior here knows that Senior is someone with a big heart and compassion. But, there's truly no need for you to shower your junior here with such love. Your junior is so touched I am about to cry now. I don't even know what to say anymore. Lin Fan was truly about to cry right now. This was the first time he had met with someone who was this nice to him. In his heart, Lin Fan could not help but feel that the beings of the endless mainland were all filled with love in their hearts. No worries. Hurry up and consume that pill. This should do the trick. The selfless demon ancestor was somewhat feeble right now. Losing this much essence blood had taken quite a toll on his source. If this still couldn't work out, he was truly going to break down. As the selfless demon ancestor, he was one of the top existences in the endless mainland back in the past. It was a pity that he was suppressed by that boundless future Buddha Lord. Now that he even had to resort to such methods to try and break free was something that was simply embarrassing. However, as long as he could get out, everything would be worth it. Thank you, Senior. Lin Fan could not wait right now. This pill was way bigger than those pills from earlier on. The color was even more luscious. A single look was enough to tell that this was good stuff that was far from ordinary. Popping the pill. Crunch, chomp, munch. The taste was still ever so fragrant. Only, there was something missing from it. Ding. Experience points plus 500 million. Lin Fan jerked his eyes wide and revealed a look of disbelief. 500 million. It was 500 million. Seemed like this selfless demon ancestor was really going at it with his life. When the selfless demon ancestor who was sealed in the mountain caught sight of Lin Fan's expression, his heart skipped with joy as he asked out excitedly. Has it worked? The selfless demon ancestor was somewhat emotional right now. However, to the astonishment of the selfless demon ancestor, he could not even feel a single bit of connection with that lad. Could this have failed again? Senior, it's no use. Lin Fan let out yet another sorrowful look. And just at this moment, the experience points gain of 500 million coupled with the experience points from earlier on had fulfilled the requirements of leveling up. Ding. Cultivation state leveled up. Cultivation state. Golden immortal state lower level. Ding. Entering golden immortal state. Gathering laws of the golden immortal. Lin Fan realized that there was a huge change going on through his body. This was a change way more tremendous than back when he had entered the mystic immortal state. This was especially the case for his mind, which was sharp and clear right now. A boundless amount of power gushed into his mind before forming a golden sea. This was the Sea of the Golden Immortals. Within this Sea of the Golden Immortals were dragons made up of power that swam within it one after another. This was the entire power of a golden immortal which formed this gigantic sea. There was a world of difference compared to the mystic immortal state. Those thick laws of the golden immortal coiled around his body. These represented all assets of a golden immortal, as well as a sign of being a golden immortal, possessing the enormous might. Pleasurable. This is truly pleasurable indeed. To think that being a golden immortal would be this pleasurable. I feel as though I can crush everything in this world with just a single fist. Lin Fan reared his head up into the void as his heart surged with vigor. If anyone else wanted to raise their cultivation states, it was always something that was more difficult than difficult. But, as someone with the system, every single impossibility turned into non-trivial factors. Entering this godforsaken place was truly no loss for Lin Fan. However, it was quite a pity. If just the essence blood of this selfless demon ancestor alone could turn him so incredibly strong, wouldn't he soar into the heavens if he could get to kill this selfless demon ancestor himself? November LBJNN. The selfless demon ancestor discovered where the issue was right now. How could you possibly raise your cultivation state at a moment as such? The selfless demon ancestor questioned with his mouth wide agape. Senior, I've got no idea. I just found my strength growing all of a sudden somehow. What do you think the cause of this might be? But, the pill from earlier on did not work again. Ah, your junior here is so crestfallen. Lin Fan cried out. If the intellect of this selfless demon ancestor were slightly lower, he might have truly believed in these words. But alas, everything was all wishful thinking on Lin Fan's part. Even though the selfless demon ancestor wasn't all that smart, he wasn't stupid to an extent where one could term him as a moron. Silence. All of a sudden, the entire world fell silent. The selfless demon ancestor had realized what had gone wrong. How could his essence blood be of no use? Even if it were an immemorial ancient being, they would not be able to fight against his essence blood. But, to think that this ant-like character before him would be able to resist his essence blood. Not only that, he was able to convert his essence blood into powers to make use of it and raise his cultivation state. *****. An enraged roar surged up into the heavens. This peerless demonic might surged throughout the entire world like a blanket, causing the ground to quake out violently. It was as though the ground was trembling under this demonic might. Indeed, Lin Fan had been discovered. But even then, he was someone who was still pretty shameless. Senior, what's wrong with you? Why are you getting angry all of a sudden? Lin Fan asked in shock. Senior, you're ****. Ant, you have been using your ancestor from the very beginning. The selfless demon ancestor roared out. Lin Fan sighed out slightly before mumbling out to himself, sigh. Since you've already seen through me, there's no point in covering up anymore. I'll tell you the truth then. Those small tricks of yours had been seen through by your daddy from the start. Even though you've lived a longer life than yours truly, every single step that yours truly took in life has been through all sorts of plots and tricks. For a little demon like you to want to scam me now, isn't this just playing with your blade in front of Lord Guan? You were just asking for it yourself. Lin Fan chuckled out calmly before patting his sleeves. But still, I've really got to thank you. If not for your essence blood, I wouldn't have been able to break through to the golden immortal state just yet. Lin Fan's expression was composed as a gentle form of overbearing aura leaked out of him. The selfless demon ancestor who was sealed in the mountain howled out. It was as though there was a mouthful of old blood accumulated in his chest which he was unable to release. He hadn't expected that he would be scammed by an ant. And not only that, he was scammed so badly. Not only was he using his essence blood to raise the other party's strength, he was even ridiculed at the end of it. This was inhumane. This person was a beast. Lin Fan smiled out calmly, sigh. At times, it isn't really good when your innate potential is just unrivaled. There are always peasants who would want to plot against you. But honestly, do I, Lin Fan, look like an existence that's able to be taken in by someone like you?